What should I say? I have to say something clever. Do you like scary movies? I sound like him. Do you like scary movies?
Stop trying.
I am. I'm doing it. I
No.
sound like Batman and like him at the same time. Watch this. Do you like scary movies?
It was better, but it
I
wasn't.
know.
It wasn't it.
I used my diaphragm. You hang up on me again, I'll cut you like a fish. There.
That was actually almost. That was pretty good.
Yes.
What if we just start the podcast and this is the intro?
What do you mean?
Us trying to figure out what the intro
We
is.
can't do that.
Why?
Well, I guess we can do that. There's no rules against it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Horror Movie Podcast. Today's a very special episode because we're talking about Scream! Everyone's favorite.
So excited. And this episode is going to be so long.
It
So
is. Buckle up.
Get ready. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a feeling this episode is going to go forever
Yeah.
because we could probably talk about these movies forever.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, one of the reasons I'm so excited to talk about this for the podcast is because we're both huge Scream fans, but we have some pretty different opinions on some of the movies.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it'll be a fun conversation.
It will be fun. We'll see if it gets too heated. Grab your popcorn. Grab your popcorn, everyone.
But before we get to Scream, what have you been watching recently?
I mean, I've watched all the Scream movies this week.
Same.
But yeah, that's a given.
Preparing for the podcast.
Yeah, obviously.
Duh.
And for Scream 6, which comes out tomorrow.
Okay,
at the time
so
that we're
as of
recording.
time of recording this,
Yes.
it is Wednesday. Tomorrow the movie comes out, and then we will be back here to record our reaction right after the movie.
Yay.
So you'll super forward spoiler alert for the end of the podcast. We're going to talk about Scream 6.
Yes.
So.
I'm so excited.
Same.
But anyway, what I have been watching recently, I watched It, the first one.
Okay.
And I watched I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Did you hate it?
I kind of liked it.
Hated
I
it.
know you don't like it.
I literally
I
shut that movie off, which takes so much for me to do.
I don't. Why?
Do you understand? Because it was so bad. Like, and on top of that, I was tired.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to stay up to watch it. And I was like, I'm not gonna stay up for this movie.
I liked it.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
see
it at
anything
all.
wrong with it. I mean, not like it was perfect,
I mean,
but
the
like
entire premise of the movie is called I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What's
Like,
wrong with
it's
that?
so-
I know what you did last summer.
I just hate it. You know what the second one's called?
Let me guess.
I still know what you did last summer.
That's at the end of the movie. Did you watch the whole movie?
Didn't finish it.
Okay, yeah. You fool.
Okay.
You look like an absolute buffoon right now.
All right. Well, regardless, it's a stupid name.
I never said it wasn't.
Maybe if we end up talking about that on the podcast for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back and finish it. But
Good. I quite like it.
anything else?
Nope.
Just it and that?
Excuse me, and all the Scream movies.
Okay,
Watched 7
my bad.
movies.
I watched 2 full franchises. Oh, well, never mind. I'm wrong. I don't know why I thought that.
What did you do?
I kind of watched so I watched the Scream movies.
Uh-huh.
I watched all 3 Creed movies. That's why I was saying 2
Oh,
I
you
don't
just
really
you saw the
those.
new one?
I did, yeah.
Mhm.
It was good.
Yeah.
But I'm rewatching the Rocky movies as well. So I was gonna say I
Oh.
watched all the Rocky movies, but
Are we
didn't.
talking about
only
not
watched 2
even
Rocky
like not
movies.
horror?
I'm talking about them because it's brand new.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I rewatched Rocky and Rocky 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so good.
I haven't seen them.
Honestly, the 70s have some amazing
I know.
movies.
Yeah.
Rocky, the original Rocky came out in 76. Suspiria is 77.
Right.
Star Wars is 77.
Oh, that's right.
Like,
yeah.
The 70s was
Iconic movie
a
time.
really good time for me. And I
Yeah.
know there's tons of other stuff. I want to say, wasn't Alien 70s?
No.
Was it not?
I thought it was like 90s.
Is it way newer than that?
I think it's 90s. I could be wrong. Oh, you know what? It's 80s.
It's 86.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Aliens is 86. Alien is 79.
Whoa.
I was right.
Slay.
Yeah, the 70s was like, and Jaws is 70s too.
I have no idea on that one. It
I
wouldn't
think
surprise
Jaws
me.
is
It
also
seems
70s.
I mean the attire and the hairdos is
yeah,
all 70s.
75.
Wow.
The 70s was like a
Iconic.
good time for movies.
Didn't Halloween come out in the 70s?
Yep.
Yeah, geez.
And then I guess The Shining was 1980, so that doesn't count.
That doesn't count.
It was being made in the 70s. Same with The Thing. The Thing was 1980 as well.
Yeah. Wow.
I always know old movies are good, but I tend to have like this subconscious thought that old movies are not as good as like current movies.
Yeah.
And I mean, in some ways that's true, especially when it comes to like the superhero franchise, superhero films, for instance. Obviously, superhero films are way better than they used to be. But yeah, I mean, old movies are.
Yeah, I feel like that's a
very good.
It's a pretty common human reaction to hear like, oh, that's an old movie.
Right.
It's gonna be bad, but I mean, they're not all.
I also just
really good ones.
feel like 1980 wasn't 43 years ago.
I know, it's
But
so weird.
1980
I
was
know.
43 years ago.
I know. I see posts all the time that are like 20 years ago, and people are like, "Oh, back in the 80s," and then it's like, no, 20 years ago is 2000, which is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're both just spring chickens compared to other people, but it's like it still feels.
Well, and it's so funny to me because obviously I wasn't born in the 80s
I
at
know,
all.
that's
So
what
the
I'm
80s
saying.
was like
That's what I'm saying.
The 80s was almost 20 years ago from
Right.
when I was born.
Yeah.
So I don't know why.
I know.
I hear 43 years. I'm like,
what?
For
That
real?
doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. Yeah.
But other than that, so I watched Sick, which is written by Kevin Williamson.
Oh.
Who wrote Scream.
Yeah.
And it was all right. It came out this year, and it's been getting a lot of really good reviews.
This year, like 2023?
Yeah, 2023. It came out in January. So I'm trying to catch up on
Is it
23 horror.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Trying to catch up on 23 horror because I've only, including this one, I've only seen 3 movies from this year.
Yeah.
And I think there's already like 15 on the list that for movies that have come out this year. So I'm really trying to catch up on those because I don't want to fall behind. So I watched it, and I don't know, it's fine. It's very obvious that Kevin Williamson wrote it.
Oh,
like, it
is
has
it?
a lot of the regular tropes in it. It has some Scream tropes in it.
Yeah. Is there like a red herring and?
Yeah. I mean, and so it wasn't bad, but so the premise of the movie is it's 2 people quarantining from COVID because they're about to like go visit family. So they're like gonna go quarantine together for 2 weeks to make sure, and it takes place in like April 2020. So I think part of it is just like I'm so over all of the COVID stuff that it didn't really give me that feeling of like I don't want to say nostalgia, but kind of nostalgia, but like trauma nostalgia, like, I mean, because that obviously was so insane for people. But I feel like maybe if I would have watched this a few years from now, and because they do a whole opening scene where all the shelves are empty and somebody asks for toilet paper and like, somebody flips out because they bump into someone who's not wearing a mask, and because it's very early pandemic, and it's like, I don't need to remember any of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know. I think maybe that could be part of it, but I mean, other than that, it was a fine movie. It's a Peacock exclusive, so it was. I don't know. It seemed kind of like a made for streaming movie.
Yeah.
But it was fine. I give it 2.5. Like it's definitely worth a watch. Because a lot of other people are enjoying it a lot more. So maybe
it's a you problem.
But honestly, probably is. Speaking of You, I also watched episode 1 of You season 3.
Oh, is it good? Wait, aren't they on season 4?
Yes, season 4.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like a show that should have 4 seasons, so I think that's why I keep saying season 3.
I've only seen season 1, and I'm like, what can happen after this?
Season 1 is great.
Yeah, it's
Season
really
1
good.
is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Season 2 is all right.
Mm.
Season 3, I didn't know how they were going to do it because season 2 kind of ends on a cliffhanger-ish.
Oh, sure.
But it's actually pretty impressive. I liked season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And season 4 is interesting, but it's, I don't know. I watched it probably a couple weeks ago and I haven't gone back to it yet.
Yeah.
So, and then The Mandalorian season 3
How is
is
it?
out. It's so good.
Is it?
It's so good.
Is the whole season out?
No, there are just 2 episodes so far, but
nice.
it's wonderful.
Is it you say getting all giddy?
Yes.
Are you blushing a little bit?
I love that show.
It's good. I've only seen season 1.
It is some of the best Star Wars
Yeah.
since the original movie came out. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. So I've been watching lots of stuff. Just horror has kind of been on the back burner.
Yeah, honestly, same. I mean, I've been kind of busy lately, so I haven't really been watching that much horror or not. I mean,
yeah. Well, I watched a lot of horror in January.
Yeah.
And then a decent amount in February for Valentine's Day. So like, I was kind of, I don't want to say over it, but I'm trying to catch up on other stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Which is definitely difficult to do with the podcast now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I have to watch horror.
Right.
So
because we got a bet going.
We do,
Yeah.
and we'll have an update here soon.
Yeah, like at the end
of the month.
Yeah,
we'll have an update. See who's in the lead. Yeah. Let's talk about Scream.
Okay.
So let me pull up a synopsis here. That was Scream 6. Thanks for naming it Scream, guys.
Did they?
Yeah,
no, it's Scream
6,
with
sorry, Scream 5.
Oh.
Yeah, Scream 5
like,
is just named Scream.
Yeah.
I clicked on it. Okay. So Scream, directed by Wes Craven, came out in 1996. And our synopsis, a killer known as Ghostface begins killing off teenagers, and as the body count begins rising, one girl and her friends find themselves contemplating the rules of horror films as they find themselves living in a real-life one.
Ooh, the rules.
This is the best movie
I
ever.
know. I was like, I don't even know what to say because it's just so...
Honestly, we should probably spend the least amount of time on this movie because it's just going to be praise.
Yes, honestly. No criticism.
This movie has still aged so well. Mm-hmm. The pop culture references are great in this movie. Mm-hmm. I love how aware of itself it is and how it's kind of a parody on the horror genre without being a parody.
Right.
You know, one of my favorite scenes is when Sydney is talking to Ghostface and she's like, I don't like horror movies. They're insulting. You know, the blonde always runs upstairs instead of going out the front door. And then like 30 seconds later, so she locked the chain on the door, right? She goes to try and go out the door, opens it, the chain stops it. So she shuts it and runs up the stairs. And I think it's one of those things that like I've talked about so much where people don't give people in horror movies enough credit. I feel like it's one of those movies that kind of proves that, you know, because obviously Sydney is not giving any horror movie characters credit, right? But then she does kind of dumb things at some points,
sure,
because it's almost like when you're being chased by a killer, you're not thinking straight. But yeah, I mean, everything about this movie is great. The script is great. The acting is great. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. Really.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. I like how each of the characters, like, they have such distinct personalities, and I mean, as we're watching it, I was like the first time we watched it, I was so into it and so like, oh, this character is, you know, this way, and it's so crazy to try and figure out who has these intentions, and like every single character is like a red herring because they're all just
everyone's questioning everyone in this movie. The scene is in front of a water fountain, isn't it? I don't know if they're in front of a water fountain. It's something like that. Yeah. That scene is great because they're all kind of questioning each other,
right? But like in a joking way, because they don't really.
It seems like they're friends, but also this group kind of seems like friends because of circumstance more than like friends because they want to be friends, right? You know, which I think is interesting because Scream 5, I think takes the most parallels to Scream,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't feel that way about Scream 5.
Not at all.
Like the group in Scream 5 is like you can tell very quickly that these are close friends.
Right.
We'll talk about Scream 5 later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just that scene alone,
Mm-hmm.
when they're all kind of, and I mean, Billy and Stu, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So going forward, spoilers for the entire
Crazy
Scream franchise.
Yes.
We'll give another spoiler warning before we talk about Scream 6, but we're gonna spoil the whole franchise. Billy and Stu are there, and like Stu is talking about how it takes a man to kill someone like that, and Billy's like, cut it out. you know?
And what is it? Oh my gosh, I can't remember exactly who says what, but Stu says, "No, I didn't kill anybody," and Billy's like,
right.
"No one's accusing."
I guess that's what I'm thinking of.
He says, "No one's accusing you," and he turns, he goes, "Thanks, buddy," and it's like, after knowing, it's like,
right.
Oh, so Billy's the one that did it.
See,
in that
but
particular.
I don't know. Because I was gonna ask that. So I don't know how we missed the opening. I'm so excited to talk about this movie. I skipped the entire opening. The movie opens with Drew Barrymore, who was the headline. I mean, if you can see on the VHS, there's that giant picture. That's Drew Barrymore.
Yeah,
and
her face.
She's literally on it twice, and her name is the biggest name at the top. And they kill her off at the beginning of the movie,
which is like, for at that point in time,
yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, you don't kill Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, I mean, imagine a movie opening with Jenna Ortega, and them just killing her at the beginning of the movie. Like, that would be so insane. They would never do it, which we'll talk about when we get to Scream 5.
Yeah, true. Scream 5. Yes, yeah.
That opening scene is just phenomenal. It is
so
good. I think one of the best openings in film history.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
It has, it gives you everything you need to be hooked.
Yeah.
You are interested in her, you're rooting for her, but then also you're interested in Ghostface as the villain of this movie.
Yeah.
And the villain wins very quickly, which no one would have expected.
And like with her boyfriend and everything, the graphics are so disturbing with the boyfriend, and then with her in the tree, and it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why the town is so shocked. You know, like, this isn't just a murder. This was a
like they were
mutilation.
carved. Yeah.
And
they're teenagers.
Who do you think killed? What's her name in the movie?
Oh gosh. Oh, hold on. It's what is it?
I haven't got there
yet.
It's
a C
Casey.
name. Yes, Casey.
Yeah, Casey. Who do you think killed Casey?
Billy.
You think it was Billy?
Yeah, 100%. Because first
so
of all,
why do you think it was Billy?
Because they have that commentary when Stu's like, "No, I didn't kill anyone," and Billy literally says, "No one's saying you killed anyone," and then Stu says, "Thank you." Plus, that's his ex-girlfriend, and he clearly still had feelings for her, but he was mad at her.
See, but I think that might have been why he killed her.
Because
Tatum even says, Stu was with me last night. And then somebody else goes, was that before or after he stopped at Casey Beckert's house?
No.
So
he says, was that before or after he sliced and diced?
Okay. Yes, you're right.
I know.
Sorry, I'm misquoting the movie.
Yeah.
I'm getting my point across, which was
listen up. Literally, he is with Tatum. He's with Tatum. Billy gets to Sydney's house minutes after they're killed. That's literally a reason they thought he was like so the police like were talking to him, and he was like, and they were like, "What time did you get?" And he's like, "Around the," and they're like, "That's around the time."
Well, right, but if you think about it, if Stu left Tatum's house before it happened, or got to Tatum's house right after it happened, wouldn't
he would be suspect, and they didn't suspect him.
You think Tatum wouldn't cover for him?
What do you mean? I
Like,
think
be
she
like,
would.
he was with me the whole night, even though, like, maybe he wasn't with her the whole night.
I think that she would 100% not cover for him.
I think it makes the
know
most
Tatum?
sense.
Do you know Tatum?
I think it makes the most sense that it's Billy. But I wish I should have written it down.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens. I don't remember if Ghostface says something or I think it was the look that he gives her. Like he tackles her, he throws her on the ground, and he like raises the knife and like cocks his head for a second, and then he stabs her. And I was like, that seems more like Stu than Billy to me.
Oh,
but
no, 100% not.
know.
Billy does that. Billy literally throughout the movie does this whole thing where he like kind of like looks, like.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think I do think it's an interesting conversation to talk about who's in the costume when.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's kind of difficult for some
We're
areas
not really
to not make
supposed
sense.
to know,
Yeah,
probably.
exactly. Well, I mean, we're not supposed to know at all because that's why they have someone else playing Ghostface,
exactly.
Which is it's just one of those things about a whodunit movie that you kind of have to do. Like you can't, because like if the characters in Scream 4 were in the costume, like or Scream, or Scream 5.
Scream 5, yeah, it would be so obvious.
It would be kind of obvious.
Yeah, because one of them would be 6 feet tall and the other would be like
really
5'2" or whatever.
So it makes sense, but it's also one of those things that's like it's a movie. You gotta kind of have to like suspend belief.
Yeah, for sure, exactly.
But then so Scream.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about Drew Barrymore.
No,
it's about. Is it Neve?
It's Neve.
It is Neve.
Yeah, Neve Campbell.
It's about Neve, who plays Sidney Prescott,
mm-hmm.
and it's about her story.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to figure out why it's about
mm-hmm.
Sidney, like what specifically. So one of the really interesting things that I caught again watching this movie
mm-hmm.
is Ghostface attacks Sidney pretty early.
I know. I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, and
like,
it seems like they were gonna kill her.
That's what I was just thinking. That is so crazy. Like, but why would they have killed her without all this other stuff?
I wonder if they were just planning on attacking her and then not killing her.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Or if it just or if they were just gonna scare her
mm-hmm.
and then it got physical.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, well, shoot, like we gotta.
Right. Well, if you think about it, like he didn't pursue her as much as he could have, So it's like, and then Billy, and then Billy comes up to the window and is like,
"Do you think that's Billy?"
Oh yeah,
that's
100%.
Gotta be Billy,
it is
right?
Billy.
That's why he's there so fast. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if Billy entirely knew what he was gonna do.
It's a mind game. He wants her to be scared and he wants her to feel taunted.
Or maybe that was his plan the whole time, was to be like to attempt that he's like the knight in shining armor or whatever,
Yeah. I don't know about that, because if that was the case, then he would have probably had Stu do it and he would have fought off Stu,
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely an interesting conversation.
There's tickle in my nose.
Tons of YouTube videos about who
right, yeah.
So but honestly, I prefer just like letting it be.
Yeah.
I feel like trying to dig into it takes a little bit away for it.
Yeah, for
me,
sure.
But
yeah, this movie is so good. My Stu
is great.
Matthew Lillard is like, I have not seen him in anything and disliked.
Is he your favorite killer?
100. Oh yeah, easily.
Stu?
Yeah, Stu easily. And second would be Billy.
Would be Billy?
Yeah, the others I'm like, I kind of like into. I kind of like, Billy's mom and But the others I'm just like, I kind of feel whatever about every single other killer in the whole franchise, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's really hard between Billy and Stu for me. Which one would be number one? They're my favorite killers together, easily.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring that back up as we get into the other movies, but tons of people die in this movie. It ends up they're going to a party, and at the party it's revealed that it's Billy and Stu, and then they're trying to figure out, what the other characters are trying to figure out why, and then they bring up that they actually killed Sydney's mom,
Mm-hmm.
which earlier in the movie, this is how Gale Weathers is introduced,
Yeah.
is that the guy that Sydney accused
Mm-hmm.
is in jail, Cotton, for killing
Mm-hmm.
her mom.
Yeah.
And then you find out that it was actually Billy and Stu who
Mm-hmm.
killed
Maureen.
yes. And good guys win in the end. Billy and Stu both get killed.
Mm-hmm.
Stu gets killed. Stu's not coming into Scream 6.
Oh my gosh. That is
If they bring Stu into Scream 6, I might leave the theater.
actually
Yes. That would be so stupid.
I
mean, I wouldn't leave the theater,
I'm all
but I
for-
would want to.
Yeah, I'm all for theorizing and everything, but that is you guys are a bunch of silly gooses for coming up with that
Yeah.
one.
We
It's-
literally see a TV get pushed. Have you ever picked up one of those TVs? They're super heavy.
Yeah,
it gets
they're
pushed
freaking
onto
heavy.
his face. It breaks, and he gets electrocuted.
Uh-huh.
He's dead.
He's also been
dead.
stabbed like a
Right,
few
yeah.
times.
And on top of that, what did the cops do with his body? Like, if it was missing,
they
that
would
would have been.
yeah. And they
know.
would know if he was in jail and not dead. They would have mentioned it at some point,
Right.
probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's-
because if he was in jail and not dead, that they would have every single time they would have been like, "Is Stu still in jail? Is
right.
Stu still in jail?"
Yeah,
You know,
for sure. Yes.
dumb theory.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, this is such a good movie, and Stu and Billy are so good, and
They
just
they're
love
the
them.
chemistry between the two of them
it is
is,
so impressive.
between the actors is really impressive. You know, between the killers, that's I mean, I guess they do have chemistry, but also
They
like
do have chemistry. There is, I don't care what you say. There is tension between them in that scene where that scene where they're stabbing each other. It's like, should I leave? Like they're about to get it on.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I know you disagree, but I'm just saying.
What did you rate it?
5.
Silly question.
5 out of 5.
Yeah, we both gave it a 5.
Yeah. My boyfriend doesn't like Billy and Stu. He despises Stu. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't love you the most, babe, but like
he might come around eventually, you know.
Eventually.
I think Scream the entire franchise actually, I feel with every rewatch these movies get better.
Yeah.
With the exception of 3. But every other movie I think gets better with rewatch.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll get into your controversial opinions here shortly.
Interesting. No. Yeah, and that's the thing I love about Scream though, is that everyone has different opinions on everything. And it's like, because, you know, I love Stu so much, but watching it with Parker reminded me, you know, that like not like everyone just views everything in Scream so differently. And like I've watched all of them with Parker now, and you have too.
Yeah.
And he like, we all have such different opinions on everything, and each one of us is like, that's kind of silly that you think that, or like, you know, that's why do you know? But it's like, it's so, we all like represent different points of views, and it's really cool.
I think on top of that, it also we all watch them at very different points in life. And
yeah.
so for instance, I think Scream 4 has gotten significantly better with time. And I think that's part of the reason I didn't like it when it first came out. Because around the time Scream 4 came out was when I was introduced to the Scream franchise.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff about it that I just wasn't a big fan of,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about with the movie. But they do some like future predicting, which they actually get right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think because of that, it's actually helped the movie age.
Sure, yeah.
But the
I can
next
respect
entry into the Scream franchise, Scream 2.
Scream 2. That's my job. I
Oh.
read the synopsis for this.
Let's talk
Yes.
about Gale real quick in Scream 1.
Okay.
She's the worst.
She's
She's a great
is.
character,
She is
but
a great
she's
character.
the worst
She
in
is.
Scream.
She's a terrible
she is
person.
very much.
We also didn't talk about Dewey. We
It's,
love Dewey.
it's so hard.
That's just
I'm trying
love
so
Dewey.
difficult not to make this a really
the
long
longest episode ever. I know.
But Dewey in this movie is like the lovable dork, and he kind of grows out of that as they move on.
He becomes much more stoic.
But he always remains lovable. But in this one, he's very much like. I mean, Gil even calls him. Well, I don't know. Does someone call him Barney Fife in Scream? Or is it just Scream 2 that he says that Gale when he's quoting the book to Gale.
I think it's just Scream 2.
Just Scream 2.
Yeah. Because he was so taken aback by all of that.
Right. Yeah. But that's kind of what he is, you know. He's like the dumb policeman.
He's like, yeah, a little dim-witted.
But him and Gale, I am like most interested in their character development than almost anyone else.
Yeah.
Both of their characters develop in some really interesting ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gale in this movie is very unlikable. Mm-hmm. She is very much
she's what we call a snake.
Investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Like the reason that they have a bad name is Gale Weathers in this movie.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. Don't recall what I was going to say. Oh, one thing that every single person I know that's watched Scream has in common is everyone loves Dewey.
Yes.
Everyone loves Dewey.
I love when Sydney's staying the night at Tatum's house and she gets the call and then the Ghostface hangs up and Dewey comes running out of his room with the gun. Not only does he have gun in hand, finger on the trigger. Yeah. And then he goes over to the phone and he picks it up. Hello. Like, it's just
oh my gosh. And he's so oh my gosh. David Arquette did so well.
Yeah.
There's like no one could have played that role better. That's how I feel with all of the characters. I'm like, no one could have played this role better.
Yeah.
In Scream 1.
Honestly, most of the casting in Scream 1 is perfect.
Right, yeah.
But in the Scream franchise, the casting is done really really well.
For sure. I completely agree with that.
Scream 2.
Yes, let's see. Okay. On Letterboxd it has like, you know, like the precursor for the so it's like at the top it says someone has taken their love of sequels one step too far, and then it has the synopsis. 2 years after the terrifying events that occurred in Woodsboro, Sydney is now attending Windsor College in Cincinnati, and Gale Weathers' best-selling book on Sydney's life, has now been made into a major motion picture. When 2 college students are killed in a theater while watching the new film Stab, Sydney knows deep down that history is repeating itself.
Can I just say, whoever wrote these synopses, great job.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Great job.
I've
read synopses before that I'm like, well, that gave away the entire movie. This covers what happens in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and that's it.
Yeah, and it gets you hooked, and it's like, oh, interesting.
So Scream 2 came out in 97. So they had 1 year, year and a half, depending on, you know, when the movie is released, to make this movie. And it surprisingly is almost as good as the first one.
It is so good.
It was actually a pretty common opinion that it was better than the first one.
I know. So
which I think is crazy. Nothing will top the original Scream. I love the other movies, but nothing will top the original Scream. I will say
I can totally understand it, especially because it is such different characters in this movie, and you know, it's in the first movie it's like kind of, you know, I don't know, the first movie is more like edgy, like the characters are more edgy, and it probably, you know, like I can understand why people, especially that grew up during that time, would maybe not like the characters as much.
Sure.
But now as because the characters are so different, and it's like you were mentioning with like Scream 5, they're all clearly friends, and that's kind of how it is in this one. It's like they're not friends for a reason because they're all so, you know, different, and it's like only Sydney and her boyfriend are dating. What's his name? Darren? Is his name Darren? That's not right.
It's Derek, isn't it?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, Derek.
Derek, okay. So Sydney and Derek are dating, but like, what's his name?
Mickey?
Mickey, yes, Mickey. I always think it's Mitchell. So like Mickey and Derek are friends, obviously, and then the Sydney's friend, and then is that it? Do they have another friend?
Hopefully. Well, I mean, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? The rules guy, Randy.
Yes,
Randy is sort of a part of the group, but not really.
But that's the thing. It's like, it's not, it's not like they're friends because they have to be friends. It's like these are people that like get along so well, and like you can see the chemistry between them, and it really feels like they're just friends.
If you think about it, makes a lot of sense because it's college versus high school.
Exactly.
In Scream 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Scream 1, I mean, in high school, your friends are basically the people that you're forced to be around.
You just have to be around them. So
right.
You're like, might as well be friends with them.
But once you get to college, that's when you start realizing you have
pick.
a choice who you can hang out with.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we kind of see that with Randy hanging out. Or I mean, with Randy taking film class and kind of doing a different thing.
Yeah, and it's I like it because it's like Randy is a part of the group, but like he's not really. He's kind of like an outsider.
Well, he has a thing for Sydney, right?
Yes,
so that's probably why he followed her to Cincinnati.
Right.
But then she finds another guy, so obviously he wants to stay friends with Sydney.
Right,
but at the same time, like
don't want to be around that too much.
There's a boyfriend around, so he probably doesn't exactly want to spend a lot of time with them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love film class when Randy's there and they're talking about. So they're talking the killings happened at the stab opening, and they're talking about like, is someone trying to make a sequel? And then they talk about no, sequels suck, like in the middle of a sequel.
Meta. So meta. That's something else that we love about the franchise is it's just so meta.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
It's very impressive writing. I think this is I guess Kevin Williamson's writing. Obviously, Wes Craven is involved.
Right.
But I think this is Wes Craven doing a much better job at like A New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Which tries to be super meta, which is like
it's just like
almost fails for me. You know. I definitely think Scream does it perfectly.
Yeah.
And I mean, Scream 5 does that a ton too. And props to the writers. We'll get the names when we get there. But they both did a great job with that.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I in Scream 5, there's even a line that Gale says that's like, it's so meta.
Right.
And then Sydney's like, what is that? And she's like, I don't know. I saw it
That's
online.
Scream 4.
Is it Scream 4? Okay.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yes.
It is.
I can't wait to talk about Scream 4.
Yeah. Me too.
But Scream 2, we're trying to figure out who the killers are, why they're doing this again, and turns out we get the reveal first that it's Mickey.
Yeah.
And you're trying to figure out why is it
when
Mickey?
We were watching it, I was like, is he it? Is he the only?
Right.
Because I literally had no idea who else it could be.
Yeah, most people get Mickey right away. It's pretty rare that people get the reporter.
Parker got her.
Shockingly.
He literally
he
like almost didn't get Mickey. He was like, it's her. Like literally second scene she's in.
He goes, I mean, it's not Mickey because it's too obvious that it's him,
that's right. And it was like so like second scene she was in, he was like, it's her. And I was like, okay.
Yeah,
that's
usually
so
people
impressive.
do that with Mickey. They're usually like, oh, he's the killer.
Yeah.
But I don't remember anything of watching these for the first time. I don't remember if I figured it out or because it's been so long. But
I had no idea it was her.
I've talked to a lot of people who've watched it for the first time recently, and no one gets the reporter. So shout out to you.
Yeah,
that
good
was
job.
impressive.
Love you the most.
But Mickey, they're talking about, what is Mickey's reason for it, and he wants to be famous. That's what Mickey wants to do. Mickey, and he's talking about how he's gonna get Alan Dershowitz to defend him, and how he's gonna blame it on the movies. Which earlier we had a conversation about can we blame movies for violence?
And he was
this was a big topic going on around this time.
Yeah,
there was a lot of people who were blaming violence on movies. Which has been mostly disproven. I mean, it's been disproven at this point. There are people who still think it, but for the most part, there hasn't been like in-depth study done on it, at least from what I've seen. But all of the smaller studies, there's no evidence for it, because if it did, I'm telling you right now, if movies affected violence, I'm in trouble. Killer.
Yeah, jeez.
Because Scream is one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, seriously.
So that's his goal, which is again very pop culture, very for the time. And then go ahead.
I was gonna say, while I was watching it, I even said out loud to you, like first time watching it, I was like, this is the dumbest motive. I was like, it makes sense. Like, I understand people would do this, but it's so dumb. I don't like, I was like, why is he the only killer? Because I really thought it was just him.
And this is when I think the movie actually elevates itself a lot.
Yes.
When the reporter comes in, she has a great reporter name.
Yeah.
Debbie Salt.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But then we find out she's not Debbie. She's Billy's mom.
Mm-hmm.
And she's there because Sydney killed Billy.
Mm-hmm.
And she even says, my motive is just good old fashioned revenge. Like,
yeah. It's not even just because she killed Billy, though. It's because of her mom and because
her mom was
so it's like
cheating on
multiple things. It all ties in.
Her mom and Billy's dad were cheating together.
Yeah.
And so and she is obviously playing Mickey. So pretty much every movie you have the mastermind and the person doing the killings.
Mm-hmm.
And in
as
Scream,
Stu says,
the mastermind is Billy.
Yeah.
Stu is kind of the one, which I guess I don't necessarily know if the mastermind is not doing the majority of the killings. I think that changes.
Oh yeah.
Billy for sure killed people.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I mean, all of them do, but I think there are some who kill more than others.
Yeah, 100%.
And for instance, this one, I think Mickey is doing most of the killings in this one. Really, Debbie just wants to kill Sydney. Like, that's really all she cares about.
Right. So she uses Mickey. Yeah, she uses Mickey to kind of weave her way up.
Far enough away from things to where if Mickey gets caught, I don't think they'd figure her out.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because it's like she has this whole revenge thing with Sydney, and the minute she snapped with Randy was when he started talking poorly about Billy.
Right.
So it's like revenge,
yep. Oh, right, because she kills Randy.
Right.
Which that's a great scene.
It's a great scene.
It's so sad.
So sad.
Randy.
It is so sad.
I love Randy.
Yeah.
Now, I recently was listening to a podcast on Elm Street, and they said that I don't remember which one it was. Somebody said they would have rather seen Randy go on than Dewey. You're insane. I'm sorry.
Respect to you.
Randy's great,
right.
but he's no Dewey.
Respect to you for being so bold as to say something
I
so
do
controversial.
kind of wish Randy made it to 3, though.
Oh, I don't.
Randy in L.A., Randy would have been the expert on the set of Stab.
But Dewey was the expert.
I
mean...
Well, he
experienced it firsthand and blah blah blah,
Yeah, but regardless, that scene with Randy is
Are you
great.
telling me that tape in Scream 3 isn't the best
Randy,
part of the movie?
is going back and forth with Ghostface too.
Right.
That's one of my favorite phone calls
so
too.
Good.
It's a really good call.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And the way he holds the phone for some reason, it's so funny. He's like, I know, it's like the phone is like so small in his hand. He's like, it looks like tiny.
I don't know if they were the first to do someone is calling us and they're nearby, start looking for the person on the phone. I don't know if they were the first to do it, but that's definitely exploded. That's
sure.
a very common trope, especially in TV.
Yeah.
TV shows do it all the time.
Oh, yeah, like NCIS and FBI, like they do that kind of thing all the time.
So we end of the movie, it's Debbie and Mickey, and then Debbie kills Mickey.
Yeah.
And she's going to pin it all on Mickey, right? That's the goal.
Oh, she's pinning it all on Mickey,
right.
Yeah.
Which, again, would lead me to be, that's the reason why he did most of the killings. And, I mean, obviously...
I think that's why we're supposed to think it's Mickey so obviously. I think they try to put you in the same mindset that, like, the investigators would be put in. So we were like, it's so obvious it's Mickey. And it's like, there's never really a moment, for me at least, where I doubted that it was him, even though it was so obvious. Because I was like, this is so... He was never around for any of the kills, He was very suspicious for the whole thing. And he was like, talking about movies and violence and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's this guy, But, like, no idea it was her.
Yeah, and that would be one of those things where once they got Mickey, everyone would be like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Right,
what a creep,
Right.
But Cotton also plays kind of a big part in this movie.
Yeah.
And I really like him in
Yes.
this movie.
Yeah, me too.
And I think he is also a little bit part of the red herring. Like maybe Cotton is the one doing
especially
this.
with the we've talked about the shoes. Like in not each, in maybe the first 3, they always get a shot of someone wearing like the same boots as.
Right.
And then it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, well, it's not that person because it's never been the person that they get the shot of. But there's
Sure.
a shot of him with Sydney in the stairwell, and he's like walking down the stairs, intimidating her, and you see his boots, and you're like,
Right.
oh, he's wearing the
he's
shoes.
He's also in the library where she got the instant message about, and so, and I don't remember ever thinking it was Cotton, but
yeah, no.
I think if Cotton was one of the killers, I don't think that would have been that much of a stretch.
Yeah.
Guy went to prison for a long time for being innocent.
Another
and
revenge
decided
thing?
he wanted revenge.
Right. I wouldn't have been surprised if it was, Billy's mom and him both revenge type thing. Like,
yeah.
I'm shocked that she didn't try to like contact him and be like, let's kill Sydney because we both hate her,
Yeah, totally. I mean, they definitely could have connected it, and
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been bad.
Yeah, for sure.
I like Mickey more.
Oh, for sure.
And I like that Mickey's motive, despite it being kind of cliche and a little dumb, and obviously wouldn't have held up in court. I like that though, because that is what adds so much to Debbie's character,
right?
Because
he's just like a dumb kid.
She found that and manipulated it.
She
like
took
crazy.
such advantage of him.
Yeah. I mean, that peer pressure there.
Right? Yeah. Peer pressure, far too sensitive.
But that's Scream 2.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on it?
Nope. I think we covered everything.
I don't think I really have anything more for that one either.
Yeah.
So
it's a good movie.
Scream 3. Let's talk about it.
I like Scream 3.
Someone has taken their love of trilogies one step too far.
Oh, gosh.
As bodies begin dropping around the set of Stab 3, a movie sequel based on the gruesome Woodsboro killings, Sydney, Gale, and Dewey are once again drawn into a game of horror movie mayhem. This movie is not a good movie. I want it to be good, but honestly,
it's bad.
It's just not good. The script is not great.
I wonder why.
The killer is awful. So Scream 3.
Mm-hmm.
Sydney is often hiding because who wouldn't be?
Yeah, seriously.
She is working from home. She's doing calls for, or
it's a hotline. Yeah, it's a hotline.
Is she volunteering? Or does she work for the hotline?
What do you mean?
Is she employed?
What's the difference?
Volunteering.
I would assume she's. I would. Volunteering is like. You have all the responsibilities, but none of the benefits.
Yeah, we need. Does your boss know the difference between volunteer and employee too? Like, I need to make real clear that you know
that. Yeah, she's I mean, I'd assume she's working because she's not doing anything else.
Yeah,
because
she's just out there. So she is secluded.
Mm-hmm. She got that dog, that cutie little dog. That's not in any of the other movies. Unfortunately. Oh, I guess the other movies are like 10 years after.
I thought you were going to say she's got that dog in her. And I was so confused why, one, you would say that, and two, how it made any sense at all.
Werewolf movie now. I mean, if you're a werewolf, don't you really just got that dog in you a little bit?
Yeah, I guess so. So anyways, Dewey is on the set of Stab 3.
Yeah.
And he's on the set as the expert. Mm-hmm. That's his official position. Mm-hmm. And then we find out that Dewey's there
official position, expert.
Dewey's there because he thinks something is gonna go wrong in this movie.
He thinks someone is
kind of investigating himself undercover, Yeah.
He thinks someone is doing something wrong.
Oh my gosh. I should not have paused for that. I should have just kept going. Gale now has a talk show.
Oh, yeah.
And Cotton is the opening kill in this movie, which I really like the opening kill. right up until the different voices comes into it.
What?
So this
you don't
is
like
one
that?
of the worst parts of the movie.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, and right up until then, I was like, why do I hate this movie so much? And then he is using the different voices. And right there, I was like, oh, that's why I don't like it. Because this is so stupid.
It is.
And that alone, if that was taken out of this movie, it would probably bump it up a whole star for me.
I agree.
If this was just Ghostface, like,
yeah,
because it does kind of have a little bit of charm to it being so bad, you know. And it's still
that's what my whole argument is.
It's still Ghostface. It's still Sydney. You know, it's like, and but it would have a little bit more to it, but the voice changer is such a big thing for me,
right?
Because it just takes so much of the, like it takes the who done it to, you know,
what's going
million.
on.
It just like levels it up so high because now every phone call you have to be suspect of, you know.
Sure.
And I just didn't need that. Like I thought I was not a fan.
With Scream 3, it's like they were like, people are getting bored of the way that we've been doing this, so we're gonna do several things differently and like very differently, and it just like, you know, the single killer, the voice changer.
Well, and that's what Randy says, and the tape that they found. So he created a tape for if he didn't make it out of Scream 2 to give the rules for Scream 3, which Scream 5 does a much better job just introducing the new expert. I mean, Scream 4 does the same thing. They just introduce somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's what Scream 3 should have done. But then we also have this like mirror cast of the people who are playing the characters in Stab 3. So we have fake Gale, fake Sydney, fake Dewey.
Oh, yeah.
And that adds what I think is one of the better parts of the movie. I like the relationships between Sydney and Gale and Gale. And the two Gales have some good scenes in this movie when they're trying to get into the records room, and she was like, well, Gale Weathers would be able to.
I think that this one is the most meta of them all because they several times several times during it, they literally talk about which script is the actual script, because while they were writing it, there was like 7 different scripts and no one knew which one they were using that day. And they were like, why do they keep rewriting everything? And they were writing the script as they were going.
Yeah.
It's so, like, they were calling themselves out so hard, and it is so funny to me.
Okay, can we talk about calling out real quick? This movie was produced by Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, yes, that's the... Are you kidding? Come on.
Now, I may not like this movie, but this is phenomenal. Because Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven were 100% calling him out for his antics. Because, so, one of the stupidest things about this movie is Sydney's mom was in L.A. for these 2 random years where no one knew where she was. She was trying to make it as an actress in L.A.
It's ridiculous.
Stupid, dumb, hate it. But there is some sleazy producer there who, you know, slept with her to get the role. And spoiler alert, she had a baby and he's back to be the killer. Dumb. Hate all of that.
Yeah.
But the fact that Williamson and Craven were, you know, like, I like brave enough, I guess, to put this out there.
That's like a producer.
Yeah.
They were calling out a producer.
I mean, they were calling out somebody who has blackballed people for doing things like not sleeping with him.
Exactly,
you know? So, yeah, I mean, it definitely, it's unfortunate that, you know, they opted to go through writing a script about it instead of just like publicly coming out and saying
definitely.
it. However, you know, that easily could have ended both of their careers.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
You know, like,
I think they were really clever about it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah. And obviously they didn't like the guy.
Yeah.
Because why?
They trash talk him so much in the movie. Like, so much.
You know, and this might have felt like the only thing they could have done. You know? So,
definitely.
I mean, I don't know. I would be interested to know if either of them ever talked about it. I'm not sure when Wes died in comparison to when everything came out about Weinstein. I mean, Kevin Williamson still. So I'd be interested to look into it and see if they've talked about it. But this movie, I think, was the hardest to figure out the killer.
Yeah, because he's not really in it very much.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And he's not in it almost at all.
I
gotta say, he has the least amount of screen time from the killers.
I have to say, please give me credit for this. I figured it out.
What?
I figured it out, and I literally said, she had a child, and the child is but I didn't know who it was.
Oh, okay.
But I did say it's Roman.
You saying
I did say it's Roman, but I thought it was Roman and
everyone else.
I thought I guessed Roman immediately.
This is watching a Scream movie with Anna. Drew Barrymore dies, goes to Sydney's house. She's the killer. Billy shows up. He's the killer. Goes to the fountain. Tatum's the killer. Stu's the killer. Randy's the killer.
Hey,
called it.
Listen, I guessed Roman immediately in this one. Then I said it's not Roman. He was. Hey, hold on.
I can understand guessing that early. But then he's not in the movie at all.
He was Roman.
Stop.
He was Roman.
Stop.
Roman for someone to kill.
Stop. Oh my gosh.
There's just too many puns.
This is also what doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
He's shutting down the production of his own movie by killing the actors.
I guess revenge is more important to him.
Well, right, but maybe don't kill your own actors.
He's a crazy person.
Yeah, but it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
He's by far the dumbest and I think the weakest motive of any of them.
100%.
So at the end we find out that he's the long lost brother of Sydney, and he's there because Mom gave Sydney all the attention and forgot about little old me. Yeah. And I just think that's so dumb.
Yeah.
In Scream 4, we get introduced to a family member of Sydney's that I think makes sense. I think it's I think it's I think it does make sense, but I think when they were writing it. Are we talking
about Scream 4 right now?
No, I think it makes more sense what they did in Scream 4 than what they did here. This was such a stretch, and honestly, writing it since they were writing it as they went. They might have just got to the scene with the producer and then went, oh, she could have had a child. Let's make it Roman.
Right, yeah.
It feels like that, and it's just so poorly done. And then they do the bullet vest thing in this one, and they do it twice. And, it's just, because Roman's wearing it and then reveals it, and then Sydney's wearing it and reveals it.
I kind of like that.
I don't know. It's just, there's nothing about this movie that I'm really impressed with.
But it's so bad it's good, in my opinion. I know you disagree.
I do have a fan theory.
Okay.
That there was 2 killers. I told you this.
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know if, obviously there isn't, but fan theory. My pick for the second killer is the other Sydney.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Whenever you watch Scream 2, Scream 3 again, watch it looking for the second killer, and I think and he kills her, which I think makes sense for his motive too. He's only about revenge, so he recruits her to be a part of the killings, and then he opportunity strikes, he kills her because again his issue is attention. And he doesn't want any attention taken from him. Sure. So I think it makes sense that there is 2 killers, and I think it makes sense that it's her. But even if it's not her, I still, fan theory, there was 2 killers in this movie.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense if there were 2 killers. I will say again though, when you brought this up the other day, that he didn't want to get caught. He didn't. He literally if he.
Right. I think it's possible that. He had some plan to blame the other killer, which is why he killed her. It just maybe happened earlier than he planned on it, or he was gonna kill Sydney, so he didn't feel like he needed to express that to her.
I see. That makes sense.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a fun little fan theory that makes Scream 3 a little better.
Makes it a little more interesting. Yeah. This movie's so bad it's good to me.
Yeah, I get that.
Unlike Scream 4. Moving on to Scream 4.
Oh wait, hold up. We need to give our we need to give our rating for Scream 2 real quick.
Yeah.
So I gave Scream 2 4.5 out of 5.
I gave Scream 2 4.
And then I gave Scream 3 2 out of 5.
I gave Scream 3 3. Okay, now moving on to Scream 4. New decade, new rules. Sidney Prescott, now the author of a self-help book, returns home to Woodsboro on the last stop of her book tour. Oh, it's the last stop? I thought it was the first one for some reason. There, she reconnects with Sheriff Dewey and Gail, who are now married, as well as her cousin Jill and her aunt Kate. Unfortunately, Sidney's appearance also brings out the return of Ghostface, putting Sidney, Gail, and Dewey, along with Jill, her friends, and the whole town of Woodsboro in danger. Dun dun dun.
Scream 4. I was not a fan of this movie when I first saw it. And I wasn't a fan of it for a while. You watched them all for the first time last year, right? And I told you it was Scream 4. I was like, it's kind of got a cult following, but it's not that good. Like, don't expect too much. Just kind of go into it, you know. And that's changed for me. I actually like this movie quite a lot now, which was very new. The most recent watch through is what did that for me. I really like this movie. I think it is one of the better Scream movies. I think which I mean is difficult to say because let's see, I believe I still have it ranked lower than all the other ones, which we'll get to my list in a second. Because other than Scream 3, there's no bad movies. And honestly, Scream 3, like, it's not good, but it's not like, it doesn't go in the pile of bad horror, you know? It definitely could have been a lot worse than it was, because at the end of the day, it's still Ghostface, it's still Sidney, you know? Like, I said all that. But so talking about the family thing. So Sidney's coming to town, and she reconnects with is Jill her cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then her aunt. The only difficulties with this movie is where was the aunt during Scream 1 specifically?
That's the thing, because literally she talks about they've always lived in town, you know. My mom and her were super close and stuff. So why wasn't she staying with them when her dad went out of town? Or why wasn't she, you know, when she was attacked, why didn't she want to spend time with family?
I mean, it's possible she didn't have a great relationship with her at the time.
No, she talks about how close they are and how much she misses Jill and all that kind of stuff.
It's also possible that evolved after the movie. And you know, it's like
also they asked her in Scream 1 if she has any family she can stay with, and she says no.
So that leads me to what I was gonna say. It's not that unlikely that she was out of town, which I know seems like a little like bit of writing it away. And honestly, even one line of her being like, I was off in Europe for work or whatever when the original killings happened. Like, I personally think a line like that would have just like quieted a lot of that. Sure. I think it's definitely one of those things. They're writing this movie. I mean, this movie came out in 2011, so it's over 10 years since the other movies. I mean, it's been the Scream 3 comes out in 2000, so it's 10 years since Scream 3. But it's even more since the original Scream. Obviously, these were not characters that they were originally planning on putting them in. They did write them in later. I think it's a lot. I think these two characters are much better written in than long lost brother, you know. And I do wish there was just a line like that, you know, like I'm sorry I wasn't there for you, you know, blah blah blah. I don't know, just something like that. That, or maybe Jill says it to one of her friends or whatever. Yeah. That you know they were gone, they were out of town, they were on vacation. I think that all of that is fairly possible. Yeah. Especially since it was around the anniversary of her sister's death. Like maybe she doesn't want to be in Woodsboro for that, you know. So I don't know. It's definitely it's one of those things like there's not much you can do about it, but I think it's fairly easily explained away. Sure. We get a whole new cast in this movie. We still get Sidney, but we're introduced to a bunch of new characters.
Yeah.
We're introduced to Jill, Sydney's cousin, who is the main character of this movie, played by Emma Roberts.
She's not the main character.
I mean, she kind of
Sydney
is.
is.
Yeah, kind of.
Sydney's the main character.
I mean, she is, but...
Look at the picture. Who's in the middle? Okay, that's Drew Barrymore, though.
Yeah. Sydney is as big as Drew Barrymore in terms of the Scream franchise.
No. Drew Barrymore...
No, in terms
I did
of
not
the
know the
Scream
name.
franchise.
Drew Barrymore is not
I don't
as
think
big
she
as...
was as big as of an actor. I'm saying that Sydney being at the front isn't saying anything because the movies do stuff like that with the big actors.
Okay.
Yes, Sydney is the main character, but Jill is a close second.
Yeah.
And Jill gets
That's
a
what I
lot
like
of
to
screen
hear.
time in this movie too.
She did. A lot of scream time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that wasn't that bad, actually.
I know it wasn't. All of them have been not that bad. All of them have been good and perfect.
So, what can I say about Scream 4? You don't like this movie. Why don't you like Scream 4?
Don't make
Let's
me
hear
say
it. Let's hear it.
I think it's a bad movie.
What about it?
I don't want to discredit anyone's opinions because I know that my opinion is the minority opinion. Because, like you said, this has like cult following.
I mean, it wasn't
like
at the time it came
I
out. This was
know.
not a well liked movie.
I know, but
which is part of the reason I think this movie will grow on you over time because I didn't like it when I first saw it either.
I almost disliked it more the second time I watched it. To be
okay,
honest,
why? Let's hear it. I want to know.
That's a big thing for me, just how
the family
thing. And the motive, I know that that's a very real thing that could happen and probably has happened several times.
So let's clarify what that is. So Jill's motive at the end is that Sydney got her 15 minutes of fame and now she wants hers. And she always grew up under Sydney this, Sydney that, Sydney.
Right.
And she wants her moment.
Yeah.
Which I will say, as a younger sibling, like I can relate to that a little bit. Still,
red flag.
No. Not in the crazy serial killer way, and not in the fame way, obviously. But still, to this day, I will meet people that I have never met before, and they're like, "Oh, you're Kirk's brother." It's like, well, yes, I'm Kirk's brother, but I'm also my own person.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And
Yes,
that's
I understand
fairly
that.
common thing with younger siblings. Which you're a younger sibling, but I don't know. I guess maybe you never.
No, I understand that. I understand.
But,
no,
and
that
I mean,
happens a
obviously,
lot.
it doesn't bother me enough to want to go kill people.
Yeah.
However, one, she's a psychopath, so there's that factor.
She's
but
also not a younger sibling though. She's her cousin,
well,
and it's
sure.
like if we didn't hear about them, for the whole duality of these movies, it seems to me like it wouldn't be that. It's like. It clearly hasn't affected them that much if we haven't even heard about them.
How old do you think Jill is in this movie? Like 16?
16, yeah.
So she was 5 when Scream 3 happened?
Mm-hmm.
What?
That is just... It's so...
Well, right. So, but that's what I'm saying. The Stab franchise continued, though. And, of course, none of the other killings happened.
So you know how to get your 15 minutes of fame. You know how to do that. Tell the world a secret about Sydney.
She's a psychopath.
But she's saying that the thing that drove her to being a psychopath is...
The thing that drove her to killing people.
Yes. The thing that drove her to killing people was this. And it's like, do something else,
Well, right. That's the psychopath part. Because there's plenty of psychopaths that don't kill people. But this psychopath, between that and being a psychopath, decided to kill some people.
But I don't think she is a psychopath. I think that she literally, the whole thing is that she just wanted her 15 minutes of fame and she was going to do whatever she wanted for it.
She is scary in this movie.
Yeah.
When so who's the other killer in this movie?
What's his face? I don't remember his name. With the long hair.
Yeah, Rory is the other killer.
Rory?
Sorry,
that's
the
name.
actor's name.
Oh.
Charlie is the other killer.
Yes, Charlie.
So the way she just kills Charlie and just ends everyone and is throwing herself into the mirror and the picture frame. And
It's an attention thing. It is an attention thing. It is.
Sure.
People hurt themselves for attention all the time in real life.
But this is also, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, she's growing up in Woodsboro. She's probably seen the Stab movies.
Mm-hmm.
People have been pesting her about Sydney her whole life.
So she
maybe
literally...
her mom, and she even mentions it. Her mom does it too, and she had no problem even killing her mom. Mm-hmm. Maybe her mom just nonstop talking about her, and it just drove her to kill people, which is the difference between like a good person who would have handled this in a healthy way and a horrible person who handled it with a murder spree.
Right. Well, but that's the thing. It's just like, I don't know. There would have been signs that she was, a psychopath and stuff. And it seems like it's like out of nowhere. Like none of her friends expect it. She has a really close-knit group of friends. And she even has this ex-boyfriend that's like obsessed with her. And she seems so sweet and stuff. And I understand that's how psychopaths are. They put on a persona. Right. But it's like there would have been signs.
I mean, potentially. But it's also possible that those, were missed, like, or overlooked, which was not uncommon, but
yeah, if we're saying that this has been her whole life, though, then there would have for sure been signs, and like, she would have said something sooner, like, oh, I hate Sydney, or things like that. And I'm not saying she didn't, but it's like when Sydney shows up, she's like so happy to see her, and like her friends are like. There's, like everyone's so.
I mean, she does turn on her pretty quick, calling her the angel of death, and
I know, but that's like even after that, she like apologizes to her, and I feel like she did that to get into Sydney's head a little bit because she wants Sydney to feel bad.
I personally love Jill. I think Emma Roberts does a great job in this role, and
she does.
Jill is. I think Jill is one of the smartest killers. And honestly, Ghostface in this movie is brutal.
Yeah.
The kills in this movie...
She's definitely the most manipulative killer, I think.
The kills in this movie to date are the most brutal kills, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, at this to date,
that's another thing, though. That's another thing.
Yeah,
I've always really liked Scream because it's like such, like, it's so realistic, and like the amount of blood is like realistic and stuff, but it's like in this movie, it was just... so over the top that I was like,
there are a couple scenes that it's a little over the top.
No, all of them are like so over the top with the amount of blood specifically, and it's like that's just not realistic.
It was very 2010s.
Yeah,
like
that's
that was
true.
Horror around this time.
That's very true.
For the most part, I really like all the kills in this movie. One of the best ones is the closet.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's
I do like that.
difficult to not see. Coming that he's in the other closet, but Kirby is great in this movie.
I love
she's
Kirby.
kind of the horror movie expert in this one, and she's talking to him, and Ghostface is like, I'm in the closet, and she calls his bluff, goes and opens the closet, and he's like, I didn't say I was in your closet, and then he comes out of the closet from the neighbor's house, and like that is a great scene, and also like super terrifying as a friend,
right?
Like
watching your friend get
happen,
murdered,
especially when there's cops parked outside and they should be.
I know,
but I mean, this is not my favorite Ghostface, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it probably for me goes Scream 1, and then it's 5 or 4 for Ghostface.
Yeah.
I like Ghostface in 5 and 4 better than 3 and 2.
Okay.
And then I like the movie club and the nerds and the kid who's live streaming everything.
I do love that.
And then he talks about how live streaming the murders or recording the murders is the next thing, and that happens.
Yeah.
I think that like that was one of those things that I was like, okay, like whatever, But yes, that has happened on multiple accounts, like mass shootings people have gone live for.
I love Charlie as I really like Charlie as Ghostface.
Yeah, I like Charlie a lot.
It's like it's kind of not comical, but almost a little bit, because like this girl he's loved for 4 years just doesn't love him, and he just like snaps, and it's like I think that's, I don't know, I just quite like that for some reason, and I like the silliness
and then
of
that's totally Jill like playing into that.
Exactly, yeah. She like planted the seed,
and then she was like, like, well, I love you kind of thing, like, because they're together as far as Charlie's concerned. Jill clearly doesn't think that. She offs him pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I really like Gail's character in this movie.
Yeah.
So Gail in the first one is awful.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the second one, she starts out awful. And then she has that specific line that when she's talking to the other reporters, and she says something like, what is the line? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
She's like, gosh dang it, I can't think of it. She basically says something like screw it's you. Awful. We're terrible people. Yeah, we're all terrible people. Yeah. Like kind of thing, talking to the other reporters. And that's kind of when Gail starts to change and becomes a more likable character. And then in Scream 3, Gail's fine in Scream 3. I don't know. There's nothing really specific that I like or dislike about her character in that one.
I think she's really strong in 3, and I like that. She's strong and brave and
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But then in Scream 4, she has decided to settle down. She married Dewey, who is now the sheriff of a small town, and she left her big show in LA to become just a stay-at-home. I mean, well, she's not a stay-at-home. She's trying to
doing
work,
stuff,
she's trying to write. I do think the 10-year gap is a little much for this movie. This movie feels more like it takes place like 5 years after Scream 3, not 10. And you were actually the one who pointed that out, because like she's just now starting to try and write fiction. Like after a decade. What has she been doing for the last decade in Woodsboro?
I brought that up because honestly, I love Gail in every movie, but I really dislike her in this one because her character is like so insecure and stuff. And that's not, and I agree with what you were saying when we talked about it, about like, well, she's, used to being in the spotlight and stuff. But it's like, that's not her character. She's always been strong and like strong-willed and stuff, but it has been, it's been 10
I do think
years.
The 10-year gap is a little weird because I think all of her insecurities in this movie make sense. I think there is a little bit of regretting to settle down in Woodsboro. Maybe she thinks that she should have tried harder to get Dewey to stay in LA. Right. But this is not something that, like, this is stuff that's going to surface fairly quickly. It's not stuff that's going to surface
after
a decade
10 years,
after.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, that's one of those things that for me, I can suspend belief a little bit, knowing that the reason it's 10 years is because it's 10 years later in real life.
Yeah.
When in all reality, like, I think in movie time, it should have been less than that. But all the people, all the actors are 10 years older. So, like, I get why they did it. And same thing with, like, the movie club, the live streaming, they wanted to incorporate all that into it.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think it's a little difficult. The 10-year thing is kind of hard to get over. But I can suspend belief enough knowing those things and just like accept the movie as is personally. But I mean, I get that being an issue for you.
Yeah, and I just don't like, she kind of like flirts with the high schoolers and stuff, and that just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think she's obviously just trying to put her Gail Weathers charm on, you know, and then I mean, I think that's part of the things that the insecurities have come out specifically around this time is Sydney just brought out a book, and Sydney's on book tour. It's not Gail this time, and then she goes to the movie club kids and she's like, hey, I get you a celebrity appearance. And they're like, well, yeah, you could bring Sydney. And she's like, no, it's celebrity, like right here. Like I'm the celebrity. And the kids just don't care about her at all. And I think that just kind of fuels into everything. I really like what they did with Gail's character in this, but I agree that it being 10 years later is a little strange.
Yeah, that's the if it had been a lesser amount of time, I wouldn't care at all about it. But it's because it's been 10 years and it's like, this isn't like brand new technology that's just now happened. It's like, it's slowly been turning into this kind of technology and, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. That's just, those are my main grievances with it is the amount, the kills, the motive, and then just Gail's character in general. Those are my main grievances with it. And they're enough to make me dislike the movie.
Yeah. We also get introduced to Deputy Judy in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm not a big fan of her.
You
in
love
this
to
movie.
hate her, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. She is definitely, like, she clearly thinks Dewey could do better than Gale.
Could Dewey
and
better.
she thinks that is her,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And she's, like, making lemon squares, and there's tension between her and Gale, which honestly I think is part of the other thing that fuels into Gale's insecurities. Is there's this new young girl that her husband works with that is very clearly trying to get him.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
makes
So,
sense.
like, but Judy, when we find out that they bring Judy back in Scream 5, which I knew nothing about it until I watched the movie. I was not a big fan of it. I love Judy in Scream 5. Judy in Scream 5 is great. But
she's
Judy
got some good
definitely,
lines.
Yeah, I mean, she is.
There are
she's
some great.
So creepy
there
in
are
Scream
some
4.
great lines in Scream 4. That is something that almost makes
Like
the movie redeemable to me. I don't know, just like watching it. There's such like quotable lines, which is funny because I can't think of any right now. But there's some lines that make me laugh really hard and like.
Yeah,
they're so clever.
I know what you're talking about. I kind of wish I had watched these movies a little sooner.
Sure.
But because there's some things that are just I can't remember at the moment.
Right.
But what did you rate it?
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
I think I also had it at 2.5. And after watching it, I bumped it all the way up to 4.
Wowzers!
I really liked this movie.
I had it at 2 and I bumped it to 2.5, I think. Which is funny because I said I didn't like it as much, but I started to appreciate after we talked about it and then Parker talked about it with us and stuff. I started to realize, started to pick up on, there are things that I'm just so upset about these things that it's like hard for me to appreciate the movie, but I can understand why people like the movie, you know.
Yeah, so I enjoyed this one significantly more watching it again. So that just leaves one more. Scream 5.
Scream 5. I used to really not like this movie too. Yeah,
I'm curious. We haven't talked about Scream 5 since we rewatched it. So I'm curious to see what you say. It's always someone you know. 25 years after a streak of brutal murders shocked the quiet town of Woodsboro, a new killer has donned the Ghostface mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past. So this was the first Scream movie I got to see in theaters because it came out when I was watching Scream, when I had seen the Scream movies. So seeing this for me was surreal. It was so crazy to see.
Yeah.
And there's one scene specifically, so this in the opening where Ghostface is standing over
Jenna.
Yeah, what's her character's name? Is it Tara?
Tara. Yeah. That's right.
Where he's standing over Tara and like he takes up the whole screen and I was like, whoa, I'm watching Scream. Like this is so cool. I mean, it didn't touch what it was like to see Star Wars in theaters for me. But it was the same kind of feeling, and it definitely was a little bit of what I got from watching like Star Wars for the first time in theater. Yeah. Well, not the first time in theaters, but for the first time since episode 3. Yeah. I have always loved this movie. From the first watch, I loved this movie. I was so skeptical. I was so worried that they were not going to do the franchise justice. And if there's one thing they do in this movie, it's they do the franchise justice. They do a great job in this movie. They pay a great tribute to Wes.
Yeah,
even
that's
the
true.
Character being named Wes and the Four Wes party and the Four Wes at the end of the movie. Like they do a great job paying tribute to Wes in this movie. I think that this movie does a really good job with the franchise, and I was really impressed with what they did. Yeah. So this is our first our requel. Which is also a term coined in this movie, at least to my knowledge. I don't know. I had not. So there's two terms that I had never heard before until this movie, and it's elevated horror and requel. I'm not saying those weren't out there, but I definitely think this movie brought those terms into like mainstream conversation.
Made people more aware of them. Sure.
Because I always called elevated horror modern horror, but I think elevated horror is a much better name for it because it's not just modern. Like there are older movies that are elevated horror, you know. And that's one of the things I love about this movie is the movie opens and Tara gets a call from Ghostface and Ghostface is asking her if she's ever seen Stab and she's like, no, like why would I watch that? they all had weird hair, and it's an old movie.
I mean, she's seen the first one, hasn't she?
Right, but it was a long time ago.
Did she only see the first?
I think she's like, I've seen the first one. I think they had like weird hair, and it was a long time
that's
ago,
right. Yeah,
which is
it's so funny.
The original Scream,
right?
And she's like, I'm not into slashers. I like elevated horror. She mentions like
Babadook,
the Babadook.
Yeah.
She mentions a couple other. The Witch.
Right. Yeah.
There's another one she mentions.
Yeah.
I was pretty impressed with
Hereditary. Doesn't she say Hereditary?
I don't think so, because she mentions an Ari
was.
Aster one. And
It's Hereditary.
Is the Witch
she says, ask me about Hereditary. Ask me about the Witch. Ask me about
And I loved the pop culture references in this.
Oh yeah, because we get them
almost just like Scream did.
Yeah,
because I can pick up on the references, but it's not like the reference I would have missed if I watched this. If this movie came out a long time ago, was the Hobbs and Shaw reference, which, to be honest, is not the best reference, but it was like I could see a high schooler saying that. It was around the same time. Like, so I'm very impressed with this movie.
You know what I really like about the opening scene, and every time we watch it, I mention it, is how there's the like locking and unlocking of the door thing, but like it's kind of like a tribute to Scream 1, because Sydney has that moment with the keys in the car, because Ghostface has the keys and she's like, click, click, like back and forth, and it's like,
I love the way they incorporated that into because
it's way more modern.
Smart homes are a thing. Like how do you handle smart homes? We're not going to mention the fact that she still has a landline for some reason.
Yeah.
But
whatever.
Other than that, she's locking and then unlocking the door, and then the question, do you think I made it in the house?
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Ghostface in this opening scene specifically, I think is the best Ghostface we've had since Scream 1.
Really? Oh,
specific to the opening scene.
Sure.
And Ghostface in general in the movie is great.
Yeah.
But specifically Scream, like specifically the open scene, it is great. It is a really good opening scene.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the best since Scream 1.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that.
And she makes it. She doesn't die.
Right, which is
that's also
so good.
Ghostface is brutal in this scene. Like
oh my gosh,
stomping on her leg
thing,
and stabbing through the hand.
That's painful to watch.
Wanted to specify that Scream 4 was the most brutal Ghostface up until Scream 4, because Scream 5 is the most brutal Ghostface we get.
Yeah.
The kills in this movie are brutal.
Yeah, they are. And like there's literally no mercy.
No,
like, at all.
Not at all.
And it's like they want the person to feel like tortured a little bit before they actually die. Because like they'd even when Wes dies, they do the awful, like it's slow and painful to like wiggle through his neck, and like it's, oh my gosh, it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And then
it is,
when Judy dies, it's like she goes in thinking her son is being killed, and they want the people to be in pain.
Such a good scene.
It is.
So Judy is now sheriff.
Yeah.
And she has just left to go pick up food, and Wes is home and he's gonna go take a shower, and they do the behind the door thing so many times in this scene.
Oh my gosh,
Wes is walking through the house and it's following him, and he opens the fridge, and I love it.
If they did it the whole movie, whole movie, I would be like, oh my gosh, but
specifically, like, and because earlier in the movie, when Sam gets attacked, Ghostface is behind a door. And like it's a very I love that they're following Wes around, and then they do the shower scene, you know, and then Ghostface calls Judy and says that he's home. So Judy is like rushing home, and of course her child is in there, so she's not gonna do the proper police thing and secure the area.
Sure.
No, she's just booking it in to save her kid's life. Ghostface comes around the corner and just takes Judy out.
Yeah, and she when we watched it with Parker, I literally said out loud, like, her dying thought probably was like, my son is either about to be killed or
is killed. Yeah.
And that's awful.
And it's like, it's broad daylight too.
I know,
like,
so
like
bold.
Ghostface is not holding back.
Yeah, and they're
movie.
like in a suburban area, you know, like there's houses like lined along the block, and it's so bold.
And then he goes in and kills Wes.
Yeah.
Like there's
Poor
There-
Wes.
yeah.
I love Wes.
I liked Wes
I'm
a lot.
So
Wes was a really good character.
Yeah, they kill off the best characters.
I don't know about the best, but
Some of the best.
So out of our friend group, we have the new movie expert, which is Randy's niece, which I liked that. And you find out that most of the people in this movie have some kind of ties to the legacy characters, which is another thing they bring up. So there's the whole scene where they're explaining the rules and what is her name? Not Amber. Wait, where is she? Mindy.
Yes.
Right. So.
Nope, that's the pink hair girl.
Oh. Wait, Mindy Meeks? No, Randy Meeks.
Oh.
Yeah, it's Mindy.
What's the pink hair girl's name? What is the name of the pink haired girl?
Liv?
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
Liv.
Yes. Okay.
So, Mindy is the new movie expert. She's explaining all the rules, and she says that it's a requel and kind of goes through that. But I mean, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I like the killers. It takes the final party is in Stu's house, which I loved that. And that I will say I did figure that out before the final reveal as they're going around. The only thing that threw me off was the basement because we never see the basement.
Right. And I thought it was just a closet.
And it was just a closet,
yeah.
technically.
Right,
so.
yeah.
But maybe because the basement was unfinished, they just walled it off and made it a closet.
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, there was no basement. So the basement threw me off a little bit, but I was like, this looks a lot like Stu's house. And then I love the shot where it pulls all the way out and you see that it's Stu's house. And Sydney and Gail are great in this movie. Dewey is so good in this movie.
Oh,
and they killed him.
Dewey.
And that scene is so good.
I know.
Dewey is, Dewey goes back. Like he rescues everyone. He's in the elevator and he's like, the head, gotta shoot him in the head. And then he goes and he's reloading. He's going to, and then Gail calls him, and that was just enough time for Ghostface to kill him. And then the Ghostface even says, "It's an honor, Dewey."
Oh my gosh!
So one of the things that they did in this movie is they put the voice changer in the mask.
Yeah.
But they made a point to show that. But the voice changer has always been in the mask,
right?
Which is what I caught on this most recent watch through. I thought Scream 5 was the first time Ghostface talked, but Ghostface actually talks as early as Scream 2.
Yeah.
Ghostface has some lines, and it's very few, but he does talk pretty early. So I think the voice changer has always been in the mask, which would also make sense because, if they have the voice changer and they're talking on the phone at the same time, like that would be like, it makes sense that there's one in the mask. Yeah, I don't know. Scream 5.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it is. It's not my favorite, but I still think it's really good.
I really like Richie. Richie is great.
Which one is that?
The killer.
Oh, yes, he's so good.
I like Richie a lot. And his line, it sucks that it's me line.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I don't really care for Amber as the killer.
Good. Amber's fine. Richie is definitely the I feel like there's always the more menacing, the more like likable killer, I guess, out of the pair.
Definitely.
And for me, it's most definitely Richie.
Yeah, he's very likable, very charismatic. He kind of gives me Billy vibes, which is, he's the boyfriend. Yeah. So it's like, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, and Dewey calls it right away. He's
I know. Oh,
it's the boyfriend.
So
how long? Which is funny that Dewey says that because it was never the love interest,
right?
Except for in this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dewey and Richie even says that Dewey called it right away.
Yeah.
He says something like even Dewey got it. I think this was the perfect tribute to the old characters, introducing the new characters.
It is a nice transition.
Yeah.
I don't like, it's sad for me because I'm such a, as you call it, a Scream purist.
Yes.
But so it's so hard for me to recognize that we're moving on from the original. But it is a nice transition, and like, the fact that there's the established people, moving on is
right.
a good thing to me.
Yeah,
but
we're not gonna get Sydney.
Yeah,
In this
apparently,
movie.
yeah.
Which I'm not convinced of.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure.
So
about it.
I am too, but I'm not gonna be shocked if we get her.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible that we do get some kind of cameo with Sydney, and I think it's
just a phone
like
call or something.
if we get it, it's probably something that no one knows about except the directors, Sydney, and Ghostface.
Yeah,
or
sure.
Something like that. Maybe it's a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
The really popular theory is that Gail is going to be the opening.
Well, first
kill.
let's talk about our Scream 5 rating.
Oh yes, sorry. Moving on. So let's do that, and then let's talk about let's do our ranking real quick. So what did you give Scream 5?
Let me see. I think it definitely did change on this watch through for me. I gave it 3.5.
3.5. That's so low.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I thought you were proud.
So,
it was like 2 before.
Yes, it is much better than it was. Okay, so here's my list. I have Scream at number 1.
Scream the first. Yeah.
Scream the 5th at number 2 with 4.5. Scream 2 in 3rd with 4.5. Yeah. Scream 4 with 4. And then Scream 3 with 2. Yeah. That's my list. And I'm hoping Scream 6 will, slot itself in
something
up high, preferably.
Hopefully. I don't know. I'm skeptical going into it. So my list goes Scream 1 with 5 stars, Scream 2 with 4 stars, Scream 5 with 3.5, Scream 3 with 3 stars, and then Scream 4 with 2.5.
Scream 4 hate.
Scream 4 slander. I will never stop giving Scream 4.
I think you will one day. You'll come around.
I don't know about that. Parker really liked it, so I guess I better start liking it.
Scream 6.
Yep.
Gail, opening kill?
Oh my gosh,
yes or no?
I agree. Yes, 100%.
Do you think she'll be the opening kill?
I kind of want it.
I think it makes sense that she's the opening kill.
You don't think they're going to, though?
I don't know if they're going to.
It is pretty ballsy.
I mean, but that's Scream. Like that's what Scream
that's
does.
What
That's why I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked if she's the opening kill. I won't be shocked if she's the opening kill, but I will. I do think she will be an early kill for sure.
Yeah. I want her. If she is going to die in this movie, I want her to be the opening kill.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that would be a good opener. I think it's honestly, I think it's the least likely outcome, but I think it's possible she survives the movie.
Oh.
What I do want to see out of this movie is she needs to take a Ghostface call. Gail has never taken a phone call.
That's the thing. She's going to take a phone call at the beginning and she's going to be like, excuse me. She has taken one in Scream 2.
When?
She gives her phone to Randy.
Is it her phone?
It is her phone. Yeah, but she's never been, actively on the phone with Ghostface for that long amount of time as most people are. So I think it would be cool if she, had the whole long phone call and then hung up and it's and then it's boom.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Kirby is returning for this movie.
Yes.
So
Kirby.
I'm glad. I like Kirby a lot. I just don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
The only thing that potentially makes sense is that Kirby is the legacy character that walks them through. But I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like that at all.
They're all legacy characters at this point.
Well, I mean, not not real. Like they're still the new characters.
Yeah, but Kirby,
but right,
technically
like
Kirby's
exactly.
only
So
been in one.
they've all lived through it already.
Yeah.
Why would Kirby be like the sage?
Yeah, for sure.
That is gonna like give them all this wisdom.
Right.
Like they've all gone through it now.
They're just. I think she's not gonna be the leader, the mentor, or whatever you want to call it. I think she's just trauma bonding with them, and I think that they've all trauma bonded.
I think it's possible she's the opening kill.
I disagree with that. To be honest,
you don't think they'd do it?
I just think she's not. I don't know if she'll die in this movie. To be completely honest.
Honestly, I don't know if anyone
Any of the main
I don't know
people?
for sure. I'm not convinced anyone's gonna make it through this movie.
Oh, really?
I mean, some people will,
Mhm.
but I'm not. I won't be surprised.
You know who I think is going to die?
I hope they kill.
Don't.
I don't like Sam.
I know.
I'm
not
not a big fan of her character. Her character is fine. I'm not a big fan of the performance given.
Yes, I know.
I do think she is the weakest part of the movie.
Yeah.
Character and actor, personally. But so
I know. I don't really care for
Sam.
her acting either, but clearly it's something that people like because she's been in a lot of things recently.
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think that Mindy's gonna die.
Yeah, probably.
You agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if that's just
I think her brother's gonna die.
I
think they'll both die.
I don't know if her brother's gonna be a big part of this one, to be honest.
That's why I think he'll die.
Maybe him and the girlfriend will die. Maybe they'll be the first kill.
Him and the girlfriend? Him and Liv?
Yeah.
Did Liv not die?
Oh, she did die. She got shot in the head.
Yeah,
Never mind.
Liv died.
Never mind.
Liv uber died.
Yeah, she died. She's coming back too, I swear. We thought Kirby died too.
We did think Kirby died.
Yeah.
But I think the only reason they're really bringing Kirby back is because Wes himself was asked if Kirby died, and he said, we don't know. Wes left the door open for Kirby. So I think they wanted
they just
Kirby
need
back,
someone else, yeah.
And I obviously again Scream 5 very evident they are trying to tribute Scream,
definitely.
So Wes himself said we don't know if Kirby died.
Yeah.
So how could they not bring her back?
Right, for sure.
So,
yes. Agreed. I think Mindy's going to die. I think it's I don't know. Maybe she won't.
Randy dies in Scream 2.
I know that's the thing though. That's what I was going to say though. Is that too predictable? Is that the reason that I think that?
Right.
Is it just muscle memory?
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I think
looking
she's
forward
gonna
to
die.
it.
I don't think Tara's gonna die.
You know because the movie's out already.
Oh, true.
As of listening to this, and if you haven't seen it, stop listening now. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
We're about to talk about Scream 6.
Yeah.
Well, we're back.
We just watched Scream 6.
So real quick, brief non-spoiler review, and then we'll get into spoilers.
Okay.
What did you think of Scream 6?
I'm so curious. We haven't talked about it at all.
No, not at all.
I'm so curious. I know I have a feeling what you thought about it, and I feel like
think I thought
that you didn't like it.
Did you see what I rated it?
No, I haven't looked at all.
Guess.
2.
Okay, and what did you think of it?
I loved it.
You loved it. Okay.
I loved it.
Have you rated it yet?
No. I'm gonna give it 4 or 4.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so what can I say about this movie? No spoilers. Let me think real quick. The movie doesn't do anything new. There's a couple new things which I don't want to get into.
Right now.
And we'll get into those here shortly.
Yeah.
But there's a couple new things, but they're not that big, and I didn't care about them. As far as I'm concerned, this movie was there was not. I think it was the. This is really different. Non-spoiler reviews are really hard. I don't know. I don't want to go on too much without spoilers, because I really want to just get into it and talk about the movie. I think overall, it started out really well. The last third of the movie.
Are you serious?
Really bummed me out. Yeah.
Oh, of course. I loved it through and through. I thought. I mean, each beginning wonderful. Middle, spectacular. End, phenomenal.
Wow.
All of it.
Okay,
I just
all right.
loved it all.
So, yeah. Well, that was your spoiler-free review. We didn't give you much.
Yeah.
So let's get into the movie.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of walk through the movie
Mm-hmm.
and talk about it piece by piece.
Yeah.
The movie opens up with one of the better openings, for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
It's not better than the first one.
No.
And it's not better than the second one. But I think it's better than the rest.
Disagree.
Really? So this is your second favorite opening?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I mean, so let's talk about it. There's someone on a blind date,
Mm-hmm.
and she is a recognizable actress. I don't know what I recognized her from, but I
didn't recognize her.
Let me pull up the letterbox on this real quick because I'm gonna probably look at it several times. But she's on a blind date, and the guy is messaging her, and instantly when she got a text message, I was like,
I feel like all of us
something's
kind
wrong
of gasped a little bit.
because it's not a text message, it's a phone call, like that.
Right,
that,
yes.
and I was
It's
so
the
I
equivalent
was already a little
modern day.
I was
yeah.
a little irritated that it wasn't a phone call. But then he asks, "Can I call?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Okay, here's the phone call."
Mm-hmm.
And it's not Ghostface. I'm like, "Okay, well maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is not Ghostface, I
Right,
guess,
yeah.
And he's saying that he's lost, and she's already at the restaurant. Seems like she's been there for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to tell her he's trying to figure out where the restaurant is.
Mm-hmm.
He finally gets her to come outside, which, first of all, blind date. What are you doing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Right outside the restaurant, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But also, he's talking to you from a smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
He can look up the address and maps it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a blind date and they're trying to get you to go somewhere that you have not already agreed upon, don't go.
Red
Like,
flag.
Yeah.
Red flag. Woo woo. That's me.
But so she goes outside,
Mhm.
and then he was like, "Oh, do you see an alley? I'm on the other side of the alley." And then you're like, "Okay, she's gonna die."
Mhm.
But this whole
There's
time, it's
no
not Ghostface.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I don't think this is a multi-voice changer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is.
I was a little afraid.
But if it is, I'm gonna be real upset.
Yeah, I was
Because,
a little
as
afraid.
we talked about, yesterday, for people listening 30 minutes ago,
Right, yes.
that was the worst part of Scream 3 for
Yeah.
me. So I was like, okay, but they better not be bringing this
Mhm.
back. And then the guy she's talking to gets her to start walking down the alley, and also, okay, dark alley, blind date, haven't met the guy. What are you doing?
Ridiculous. Absolutely insane. At this point, it's revealed to us that she's a professor, like a film professor, and she
Yes.
loves horror movies,
Yep.
specifically slashers.
Right, and she's walking down the dark alley as she's talking about slash movies. But anyways, she keeps going, and then the voice changes, and it's Ghostface. And Ghostface comes out of the alley, kills her pretty brutally.
It's awful.
Ghostface, they stepped up Ghostface in this
Mhm.
from last time.
Oh, 100%.
The kills in this are brutal.
Like,
They
awful.
They
awful.
are really.
I
they're
couldn't
tough to
watch some of
yeah,
them.
I saw
I
you
literally-
look away several times.
There was like 3 specific ones that I could not watch.
Yeah, they definitely upped their game
Yeah.
with the kills in this one. And then Ghostface starts to, well, he kills her,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just stands up and takes his mask off.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, okay, well, we've heard his voice.
Mm-hmm.
So how is this is
Right.
either a voice changer or we're going to know who Ghostface is. And he takes his mask off, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
And then I was like, are we going to go through a movie
Like
knowing
POV.
who Ghostface is?
Oh, I see.
And then I was like, no, this guy's going to die.
Yeah.
And then that changed to, this guy has to die.
Yes.
Because if we know, you can't know who
Yeah,
it
no,
is.
it's who done it. That's the
Yeah.
point of Scream.
And surprise, surprise, he dies.
What?
So he
but
goes-
first he sees
Yeah, so he goes back to his apartment, and he has this little stab shrine to the movies, and he gets a phone call, and he answers it, and it's Ghostface.
It's his roommate.
But he thinks it's his roommate.
Yeah.
And he's like, we promised we wouldn't use the voice on each other. You know, what are you doing? And the roommate's like grilling him about the kill. Like,
and it's clear that they're like planning to kill people together.
Exactly. Because they said Ghostface asks him who's next, and he goes, you know who's next.
Right.
So they've clearly planned this out. Yeah. And then apparently his motive, they're trying to finish Richie's movie.
Right.
And then he plays this little hot and cold game with Ghostface throughout the apartment, which I actually really like.
Yeah.
And then he's
trying to find his roommate, quote unquote.
Right,
where
exactly.
It's like,
trying to find out where the roommate is in the apartment, and he's playing along with it. And he even asks the roommate, well, Ghostface asks him a question and he about like, how long have we known each other? And he was like, no, you tell me how long we've known each other, because he's clearly suspicious.
Right.
But he answers it, gets it right. So he's like, okay, I'll play your stupid game.
Right.
And, he ends up to the fridge, which is the warmer, which is hilarious because fridge cold.
Right.
And he opens it, and his roommate is
mangled.
In the
fridge.
and
Absolutely destroyed.
He turns around, Ghostface kills him. That's how the movie opens.
Yeah.
Solid opening.
So good.
It was a very, very good opening. I don't think. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I don't think it's better than Scream 5 even. I would put it because Scream 1 favorite opening. You're never gonna top Scream 1's opening.
It's iconic.
Scream's one,
not only is it good, but it is iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. And
like
of course,
killing Drew Barrymore. And
there's nostalgia in it for me.
Right, for sure.
And you're never gonna top that.
Yeah.
Scream 2 is. I love that opening. It's so good. But I would probably go. I would say 1, 5, 2, 6. But I might be willing to switch 6 and 2. We'll see. I'll have to. I'm gonna watch it again. I'll for sure see it again in theaters. There's some people that weren't able to come tonight that want to go, so I'll probably go with them. And maybe I'll reevaluate that. But I do think 1 and 5 are much better openings than because 1. I mean, we talked about 1, but 5 was the return of Ghostface, Ghostface coming back to the big screen. And I think that in theaters for me just had an impact,
sure,
that I'm not gonna get over,
right.
And they show that in the opening too. They have the big shot of Ghostface and it lingers on him. It was very obvious what they were doing.
Yeah,
this was Scream's return, and I think they just did a perfect job in that one.
They did a really good job. Do you think, because you're talking a lot about how it's iconic to you and means a lot to you, do you think production wise also that those and script wise and all that kind of stuff that those are both better?
Definitely.
Okay, interesting.
Definitely. I love, because Scream 5 was the redo of Scream 1's opening in a way. I mean, not entirely, but it was.
In what way?
Well, in the way of the girl Home Alone, Strange Caller kind of thing, with the horror movie references and
I see.
In Scream 1 it's the which door am I at? In Scream 5 it's do you think I got in? I love the smart locks.
Yeah.
That was such a good way to incorporate modern technology
I agree.
into the classic Scream movies. I loved that.
Yeah.
So
really
I do think production and script of the two is just as high as this one is.
Yeah, for sure. The reason I like this one more than all the others except for one is because it was so what on earth is where are they gonna go with this? And then when the original killer dies, it's oh, so they're doing that, kind of a thing. This is a smart Ghostface to know all those kinds of things, and it's right immediately you just realize how clever this Ghostface is gonna be and how he knows things.
Right.
And I love that.
Definitely. And then then it goes right to what's the next scene?
They are talking about going to a frat party, and they're walking on the sidewalk, and they're gonna go to the frat party, and
Oh, so that happens in the opening.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So in the opening, the killer, the original killer, like bumps into Tara and is like, "Are you coming to the party, or is Sam coming to the party?" And then he goes home, and then we go just straight to the frat party after that, right?
Right.
So they're in New York now. Tara's gone to school. Just like Sydney went to school,
Right.
So there is a lot of parallels between Scream 2 and Scream 6, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is the sequel to the requel, like this is the sequel to the reboot, basically.
Re-sequel.
Right.
Re-sequel.
And so there's a lot of parallels all the way throughout the movie, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
With Scream 2 and Scream 6.
Yeah.
And so Tara, Mindy, and Chad are all going to college in New York, and Sam followed her sister there.
Yeah.
And Sam is very paranoid. We see that she has the 3 locks on the doors.
It's not 3. It's like 4 or 5. It's click, 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 click. And wow.
And then she finds out Tara went to the frat party, and she's upset. Well, did she take her taser?
Yeah.
And the roommates, I don't know if she took her. It's a good line too. It's like I cannot speak to how armed Tara is.
Yes,
right
it's
now.
so funny. And it's interesting because the roommate specifically says, "I'm sorry, like I told her to go to the party and stuff," which is like, oh, such a bummer, because like they live with this person, and it's like you think that the person would be making smarter decisions for them both. And
at the same time, though, you would think that this girl would. I mean, she
really
probably she doesn't understand,
Right.
Like, yes, they had a traumatizing thing happen, but she had a traumatizing thing happen too.
That's
she mentioned
true.
she lost her brother,
Right,
so
that's true.
maybe she thinks getting out is good for her. But
Yes.
but this is different. This is Woodsboro. This is Ghostface. Like this is gonna happen again.
Yeah, for sure.
And so basically the first 20 minutes of the movie is just catching you up on what's going on. There's nothing super specific to it or anything like that until they get back to the apartment and there's a news report of the killings. And Tara's instantly, we're getting out. We're leaving.
No,
right
Sam is.
Sorry, Sam. Yeah, that's what I meant. Sam is trying to get him out, and Tara doesn't want to go.
Right.
And then the roommate is like, "Oh, well, let me call my dad. He's a cop, and we'll see." And then we find out that Tara's driver's license, or Sam's driver's license, is at the scene of the crime.
Right.
And now they can't leave because she's a suspect.
Right.
And
I think it's not that she was a suspect. It's that they were involved previously and they needed them there for the.
Well, they say she's a person of interest.
Yeah, they say they're everyone involved. Like everyone that was in the past is a person of interest.
Right. So I mean, there might not necessarily be the top of the suspect list, but they can't.
For sure.
They're not allowed to leave. And the new Ghostface is leaving masks behind.
But like masks that have already been used.
And they have DNA in them, and they're leaving previous killers' masks behind.
Which is crazy because it's like, in the past they didn't have that technology, so they but now they're like, this is the DNA of Billy and like, all that kind of stuff. It's like, ooh.
And okay, so where does we get the news report that they're not allowed to leave.
Yeah.
Killers leaving masks behind.
And who shows up?
Gale Weathers.
No, you ruined it.
Kirby shows up. Yay! Yeah, because they're at the station and they come in and they say, the FBI's here. And
FBI stands for Kirby.
Yes. And it takes you back, and Kirby has become an FBI agent, which I loved. That was perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, we had this conversation, I think, on the podcast yesterday when I was like, I don't know how they're going to bring Kirby into this. Yeah. And they found the perfect way to bring her in. Yeah. Her being a special agent who specializes in crimes like this is wonderful. But where was she in Scream 5?
This is another listen up. If you are not going to be okay with me being mad about the family thing, I'm not going to let you be mad okay with Kirby. Yes, because for 4 movies they didn't mention that she for 3 movies for
that she had an aunt.
That she had an aunt for 3 movies. They did not mention she had an aunt or a cousin that lived in the same town.
Yes, I know.
That was one movie that Kirby wasn't.
If anything, it proves my point. We can ignore these tiny little details.
Exactly. I could see you getting heated about it, though, which is why I had to humble you.
No. I didn't care about it. I just thought it's a little interesting that, she, But anyways, Kirby's great in this movie.
Yeah.
She's just as good as she is in Scream 4.
Mm-hmm.
She has a little horror movie show, like standoff with Mindy.
Yeah,
about
it's
like
cute.
naming which movies are which. And, that's was great.
It's so cute, yeah.
And now Kirby is helping investigate with the detective. And the detective's daughter, so the detective who's been assigned to the case, his daughter is the roommate of Sam and Tara. And right away, Sam or Tara points it out.
I don't know what you're about to say.
Points out that the dad of their roommate is the detective. Like, that's a little weird. Like, what a coincidence.
I don't remember who says it.
So one of them points it out because that's how these things work. It's like everyone's close, and we get a whole new set of rules in this movie, and it's back to
so
everyone's a suspect, including the recall characters.
Yeah, everyone's a suspect. Everyone.
And I mean, so from there, there's a couple killings. Who dies first? Is it the therapist?
Yes, it is the therapist.
So Sam is trying to find a therapist, and she's being a little apprehensive with her, like with what's going on.
Yeah.
Because she says she has trust issues, and then she ends up telling the therapist exactly what happened, and she just dumps on him. She's like, "Okay, you want to hear it? Fine. Billy Loomis is my father. I was attacked last year, and I killed somebody."
Yeah, she's like, "Dad, ex-serial killer, ex-boyfriend, ex-serial killer, and I killed my ex-boyfriend who is an ex-serial killer, and I kind of want to do it again."
Yeah. Well, she didn't say she wanted to do it again.
No, that's true. She did say.
She said it felt right.
Yes.
Which, to be fair,
her dad is a serial killer.
No.
And that's like a genetic thing, though. It felt right to kill him. Yes.
Was a serial killer who tried to murder her.
But I think she was saying it felt right to kill someone. That's what it was insinuating.
But I mean, again, like the person she killed, kind of makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And the therapist is like, "Yeah, I can't see you."
Yeah.
And then the therapist dies. I think he's the next kill, isn't he?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So the therapist dies, and then they take the Ghostface goes in and takes her file from his cabinet, and just another thing to try and point the cops to Sam.
Right.
Sorry, it's Sam's file that they take.
Yes.
Sam is the one in therapy. I think I said Tara.
Oh, did you? I didn't even notice.
But takes the file, and then is it either Kirby points it out or the detective points it out? They're like, "Well,
it's the detective."
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. The lead suspect killed her only alibi and took the file.
Right.
Like, how weird is that?
Yeah.
And Kirby and the detective are kind of working together, and they're figuring out that they're leaving the masks in backwards order from the killing. So they left Richie's mask first, and then they left Charlie's mask next. And they're not doing every single killer. They're just doing one of the two. One of the two.
Yeah.
And then it's just, from that point, it just goes on.
Yeah, and everyone gets killed, and what? Oh, I misunderstood what you were saying.
Oh, no, I just, like, next part in the movie.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So from there, it goes back to their apartment, right?
Yeah.
When they're all there.
Yeah.
And so they're all at the apartment, and another news pops up that the therapist has been killed. And they're all freaking out, and there's this guy who lives on the other side, lives across the apartment. So it's one of those complexes that has like the big open air. What am I trying to say?
An alley?
Well, it's not an alley.
It has like a U.
Yeah,
a U shape.
So
yeah. That is an alley.
No, I think it's a full like a full rectangle with just there's no building.
No,
in the
there
middle.
is an opening.
Oh, you're right. You're
Because
right.
we
Okay,
see
so
them.
it's
Yeah.
you're right. So it's like a U-shaped
Yeah.
apartment. And this guy across the way, we find out Sam is interested in him, and apparently they've been seeing each other. And we get a pretty good scene from his point of view where he sees Ghostface in the house.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get their attention.
And he sees him in the room with Quinn.
Right.
Like
with Quinn.
in the same room.
Yeah, and he's trying to get Quinn's attention. Tries to open the windows, trying to yell. Apparently he has nothing that he can throw, or at least hasn't thought of that.
Yeah.
And then he calls Sam, and Sam hangs up on him.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I don't need
later,
to. Yeah.
They're all talking together. Chad makes up a nickname for the four of them. They're the Core Four.
Oh my gosh,
which
so
I loved.
Cute. It is
and
so cute.
The interaction.
I love Chad in this movie.
Yes,
Chad
honestly,
is fantastic.
The Core Four are great.
They're really good.
Sam, played by Melissa Bearer. I'm saying that last name wrong for sure. She does much better in this movie.
Oh my gosh,
she does much
better. There was not anything that I disliked that she did, to be honest.
Yeah, for as an actor, I would agree. I still don't love her character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Her character, I just don't care about her character at all.
Really?
She is uninteresting to me. I don't care about her. There's a scene where Tara is mad at her for being overprotective, and she's like, "What are you doing? I'm at college. I'm here doing this. Like, I'm gonna get a degree and move on with my life. What are you doing?" And nothing. She's doing nothing. And that's kind of how I feel about her character.
It would be so hard to do anything after that.
Sure, I'm not saying it's not.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
her character is just kind of boring to me.
I see. Yeah, because we don't really know anything. It's like the only thing we know about her is that she's Billy Loomis's daughter, and that's like, that is a pretty big thing. But it's like that's the only thing that matters. Like we don't ever see.
Yeah, and that's basically the only thing that keeps coming up with her character.
Exactly, yeah.
Just, I'm Billy Loomis's daughter. Like, have a pity party for me.
Right, I totally understand what you're saying in that regard.
But this apartment scene is really good.
It is.
The boyfriend, I guess, on the other side of the apartment finally gets their attention, and he has an emergency, like an egress ladder, and he like puts it in between the two windows. And people start crawling across.
Which is interesting because those ladders would not support that.
Potentially. I'm sure there's high quality egress ladders. He also could have just like passed them the ladder so they could
climb down. Yeah.
That probably would have been the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
But Mindy has a girlfriend in this one. So we get 3 new characters introduced to the group.
Yes.
I don't remember any of their names.
Nope.
I just watched the movie.
Yeah.
Give me a second. But we have Mindy's girlfriend. We have the like quiet, shy kid who he's referred to, which he
gives me such Charlie vibes.
Weird.
He literally Charlie like in Scream 4. Yeah, he reminds me so much of him.
Kind of.
Are you serious?
I see what you're saying, but Charlie had more of a role in Scream 4.
Yeah, but they just remind me so much of each other. Like the words they say, the way they act, I'm like,
yeah.
Whoa.
I can see what you mean. But he's a part of the group, which is just he's Chad's roommate.
Yes.
That's how he fits into this group. And then
Jeez, imagine being just someone's roommate and you just get tossed into this.
That's how he fits in this group,
I
right?
know.
And he even says that at one point. He's like, I'm just the roommate. Like, why am I a suspect? And Mindy's like, it's not that hard to rig the roommate lottery. Like, you easily could have showed up there. And then the third is Quinn, the roommate of
Sam and Tara. Yeah.
So they're all at the apartment during this. Quinn has a guy over who gets killed brutally. We don't see this kill, but he is very mutilated.
We see the body later, and it's like.
And then Mindy's girlfriend gets attacked, and
it's awful.
Yes, That
there
kill
is
was
when her intestines like like
so she gets stabbed in the stomach and then Ghostface just slowly raises the knife through her
and her intestines
go
bloop,
yeah.
bloop. It was like I had to look away during that part. It was just too much for me.
And so Tara and Chad get out of the apartment, and then Ghostface shuts them in and
shuts the others in.
Yeah, shuts the other ones in. And then they end up in Quinn's room, which is the room with the ladder.
Right.
And
so
then,
the remaining people are Sam, Mindy, and the girlfriend.
Sam, yes, because Quinn was attacked.
Right.
She's dead.
Yeah.
And then Sam goes first across the ladder, and then Mindy's trying to get her girlfriend to go, but she gets stabbed in the stomach, like she's not gonna make it. So she sends Mindy. Mindy gets across, and then the girlfriend is attempting to get across, but Ghostface finally breaks into the room and then just starts shaking the ladder and eventually dumps her off.
Yeah.
And
it's really quite sad.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
And then Mindy's looking down out the window and she's like, it's so sad. It actually made me really emotional for some reason.
Because you watch someone like brutally die.
So true. So true. I couldn't watch it when she fell either. Because she hit the
her head like hits the trash can, and
I saw it coming, and I just like looked away.
And so the rest get away. Is this, and then this is when Gil is introduced,
and
right?
we get that super emotional. I think she is before. No. Maybe
this is when they all go to the police station, and then they leave, and then this is when all the reporters are there.
Oh, no, the reporters are there before, after, when they're in the police station for the first time and they see Kirby and all that.
Is that when we...
and then Gail comes back and she's like, off the record, I just want to help you.
Oh, yes, that's right. So Gail is introduced a little earlier on, right after Kirby.
Yeah.
And that scene was great.
Oh my gosh.
They're walking out, they're trying to ignore the reporters, and then you hear Gail Weathers, Channel 4 News, and that makes Tara and Sam turn around.
Right.
Because Gail called them after the first attack, and Sam just hung up on her. And at first I was like, why are you hanging up on Gail? Like, this doesn't, like, why would you not talk to her? Well, turns out she wrote another book.
About them.
Yes. And about and apparently
literally,
she told them she wasn't going to write about it.
Right. Well, and she also called Sam basically like a lunatic in the book, like saying like she liked this, she wanted
quotes it, which I liked.
Oh, it was
and then,
so good.
And then she was like, "That's out of context," and she was like, "It's a literal quote."
Yeah, it's so funny.
And then she goes to turn away, and Gail says something else, and Sam like goes to punch her in the face, and she
Gail goes,
dodges
swoosh!
it.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I've been through this before," and then Tara punches her in the face,
and
from
she
the
gets
side,
her. It's so good.
Which was good.
That was awesome.
a good little interaction. Speaking of Gail, though, Gail was super disappointing in this movie. To me, she was just the same. She was literally the same Gail. There was no. So after Dewey died, what did she do? And what did she? She says at the end of Scream 5. Sydney asks her, "Are you gonna write about this?" And she was like, "No, I don't think I am. I think I'm gonna write about something else. Maybe about the brave sheriff that lost his life." So she doesn't write about Dewey. She doesn't write his memoir. She doesn't do anything. She just goes right back to fame, money. That's all she cares about.
You know what's interesting about that is that that's the reason I don't like her in Scream 5, but you argued and said that makes sense for her to be that way.
What do you mean?
Because I said I don't like how insecure she is and how she, like, all that kind of stuff. But you were saying, well, she wants the fame in Scream 5. In Scream 4. In Scream 4.
Yeah, in Scream 4.
Yeah, in Scream 4.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's different.
Why?
Because she's not taking the advantage of her ex-husband's death to get famous off of that time. Like,
but she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that in Scream. What do you?
In Scream 4, she's been irrelevant for a long time.
Yeah.
And she's struggling with that.
But that's not what she's doing in Scream 6 either.
That's what she did at the end of Scream 5. She wrote a book about her.
I mean, she said she was going to, but we don't know if she did.
Well, right. No, she didn't. She wrote the book about the Woodsboro murders again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what got her famous again.
Yeah.
Like I just don't like that character direction at all. Gail just like backslides. There's no character growth. There's no she's like, don't get me wrong, she's good in the movie, but I just don't like what they decided
I think
to
it
do
makes
with her.
sense based off the pattern we see with Gail in all the movies.
She's
like bad and then not bad and then bad and then bad and then not bad and then it's like she goes back and forth so much. It kind of
goes back to what I was saying about there's nothing new in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess there is something new. There's Tara and Sam get attacked earlier on. We missed that, and Ghostface picks up a gun and uses a shotgun.
Oh, that's right.
That's new, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I was kind of hoping he'd throw the shotgun down and grab the knife, but
really?
I mean,
I like it.
Knowing who Ghostface is at the end, like I guess it makes sense. And
I like it too. It's literally the tagline for the movie is New York, new rules.
Yeah, and it's not like Ghostface is it made me think of in Scream 5 when Richie is watching Stab 8 and he's using a flamethrower. And it's like Ghostface doesn't use a flamethrower.
Oh,
like, what is this? And that's
that.
even one of the things that Richie and Amber complain about is that they have just gone so far away from what the Stab franchise was, and then here we have Ghostface using a shotgun.
Well,
I thought it was
meta.
a little funny.
It's meta.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. Again, it makes sense once
they
we find
didn't
out
do
who
it
Ghostface
too much,
is, but
they also didn't do it more. I feel like they were teasing a little bit. They were teasing us a little bit because they're so meta.
Yeah. And okay, so where are we? Where are we in the movie at this point?
Oh, we were just talking
everyone
about...
just died in the alley.
Yeah.
Or I mean, she
we were
just
talking
fell.
about Gail.
Yeah,
and...
right. So Gail shows up.
Yeah.
And Gail is like off the record, a classic Gailism. Says it's off the record, and it never is with Gail.
But it is off the record. What do you mean?
It's not, because she does it to Sydney. She says off the record, and then she
I know,
writes
but
about
now
it.
it's off the record. I think when she means, I think what she is entailing when she says that is like, I'm not going to report about this right now. You know, because
I mean, that's not what off the record means. Off the record means off the record. Like, there will never be a record of this conversation.
I mean, sometimes people mean like I'm not, going to write this down immediately or record it.
I think Gail means I will write about this as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it to try and get into this inner circle, basically.
Sure. But they say, she says off the record, and then Sam looks at her and she's like,
yeah, and she's like,
okay,
seriously.
actually, yeah.
It's happened before with Gail. Like, I've seen this scene before. But anyways, now Gail is in. Kirby's there. She makes a comment about how kids shouldn't be allowed to carry guns or whatever. And Kirby's like, I'm 30. Like, Kirby is one of the highlights of this movie. Her character in this movie is great.
Yeah, I like her.
And then they try and catch Ghostface.
Yeah.
And then Kirby sidelines Gail. She's like, Gail, we're not doing this. Or wait, do they find the shrine first? Yes, that's why Gail's there. Gail shows up because she has new information.
Oh, yes.
She found something. So she takes them to this abandoned movie theater, which the original two guys were paying for. What?
Original two guys? Yeah, the two
the
at the beginning
original,
of the movie.
two at the very beginning of the movie were paying for. And there is a ridiculous amount of evidence from the previous killings in here.
Like evidence,
down
not
to the
even
original
just...
knives. The TV that killed Stu,
Yeah.
The cameraman's jacket from Scream 1
I even
is
saw
in this.
Stu's robe that he wore at the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, at the end.
There's a lot
Like,
of
so
stuff
much.
in there. There's probably so many Easter eggs. And then on the stage, there's like all the costumes. They have all 9 of them
and
there.
they're all missing their masks.
Right, because the killers have been
Yes.
leaving them. And oh shoot, what was I was going to say something about that. Oh, the theater. Another callback to Scream 2, which takes place at
in a theater.
Yeah, now we're back in a theater again. Right. And then after this, they're like, okay, let's catch these guys. So they go out to the park. They try and set a trap, and it's the stereotypical, oh, the killer's going to call, the killer's nearby, and then even Mindy says something like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
You can't, we've seen this in movies all the time.
Mhm.
You're going to trace the call and you're going to be like, oh, Sam, keep him on the phone. And then he's going to hang up right before you get it. And
Mhm.
Kirby's like, I can trace a call in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Which I think is also a good callback to, I mean, a good, like, technology has advanced
Right.
kind of thing. But then she also goes, well, our uncle died this way, you know?
Mhm.
And that, like, unsettles Kirby a little bit.
Yeah, she kind of like shifts in her chair.
Right.
She's like,
Yeah, she's like, "Oh shoot."
yeah.
And the detective at this point has also been sidelined by
Yeah.
the department. They've kicked him off the case because his daughter died.
Right.
And then they're tracing the call, and Ghostface is like, I'm not there. This is, so predictable." And then they trace the call, and it's at Gail's.
Yeah.
And we're all like, "All right, this is the time. Gail's time to die."
Yeah.
And then Gail takes her first phone call.
Uh-huh.
So it is her first call. And Ghostface even brings that up in the theater that this is the first call. Randy answers Gail's phone in Scream 2.
Yeah.
Which I did have to double check, which we just did.
Yes.
But which I loved. I loved that Gail took the phone call.
Mhm.
And then Gail is in her very nice apartment.
Mhm.
She has gotten very rich off of her books about people's trauma.
Yeah.
With her new boyfriend, and the killer's going back and forth. Boyfriend walks away, and you see him, like, Ghostface pops out and brings him in, and then Gail and Ghostface have a really good fight.
Yeah.
Gail fights for her life.
Yeah, and she does amazing.
And Ghostface doesn't kill her, but she's laying there, and she says something like, "Tell Sydney he didn't get me."
Yeah.
Which I didn't really understand, because he did.
I think she's
like,
saying, like, I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna die.
But then the paramedics come in and take her, and she still has a pulse. So, maybe she'll make it.
Right.
We don't really know at this point. Where do we go from there?
From there, it was Gail's in the hospital.
This is when they decide that they're going to trap
him.
Ghostface,
Yeah,
right?
I think so.
So the core four is back together,
Yeah.
and this is when they decide that one of them even says the shy, quiet one.
Ethan is his name.
Ethan.
Yeah.
So Ethan's like, "I wish we could just, like, all hold up somewhere where they can't get us," and they're like, "Well, they would find out."
Mhm.
And one of them is even like, "Well, we could use that to our advantage."
Mhm.
So they decide to go back to the theater, which I don't understand why they decided to go back there.
Because I think it was just because it's easy to.
Because the killers
it's
are
got
going to come back there?
No, because it's the killer is very obviously like they know where they are.
Right.
So it's because they have that lock at the entrance and the lock at the, so it's like it would be easy to trap him in there.
They say at one point one way in and one way out. I don't know. I'll have to pay more attention to why they go there.
It's because of the lock. It's because of the way.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. You can go to so many other places that aren't, like, where the killer has been over every inch.
But not anywhere that's not a public place. Like, why would they want to go to a public place?
I mean, police have safe houses. Like, you're telling me that Kirby can't get a force of FBI
But what they're
agents?
doing is not exactly the most legal thing in the world.
Right.
They're trapping him
true,
to kill
him.
Yeah.
They said that Tara goes, "Well, we trap him," and then they're like, "What next?" And she's like, "We execute him.
Mhm.
Like we kill him."
Yeah.
And they're all on board with that. Which,
Mhm.
for the record, that is premeditated first-degree murder, and you will go to jail for that. Like,
yeah.
whether they deserve it or not, that's vigilantism. Like, you don't get to take the law into your own hands.
Mhm.
And I mean, other than the fact that Kirby lived through it, I don't think an FBI agent would be with this. However, it's Kirby. She went through it.
FBI agents have done much
she's-
lower things
than premeditated murder.
Yes.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah.
But you would hope not.
I know.
But I mean, it's Kirby. Like, she went through
Right.
this, and
Yeah.
I think
So
she's
she's
with
understanding
them.
and sympathetic.
Let's kill him.
Yeah.
So they go back to the theater,
Mhm.
which is the shrine, and they get there. Well, they take a train there, and two of them
The
get left on
subway.
the train. Yeah, the subway.
More specifically.
My bad.
Mhm.
It's very busy. Two of them miss the train. Ethan and Mindy miss the
Mhm.
train. so they have to take the next subway. My bad.
And it's so funny because the whole time Mindy's just like, she's calling him Ghostface, and she's like, get away from me, Ghostface.
Get away from me, Ghostface.
Yeah.
You stupid Ghostface or something like that. And like walks
funny.
to the other side.
It is so funny.
She's so convinced it's him. And then they're on the train together. We have one group on,
and it's Halloween. It's around the time of Halloween, so there's everyone's
wearing masks. There's at least 6 or 7 Ghostface on both trains. They even mention earlier in the movie that Ghostface costume sales have spiked.
Yeah,
people are which is so demented. It is so messed
it's awful. Up. Yeah,
but honestly, like I believe it.
That's like people dressing as Jeffrey Dahmer for Halloween.
Yeah, which I mean, it's not on this. Like, I did see that happening last Halloween.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because the Dahmer show came out.
What?
So, like, there were some people going as Dahmer. But it was nowhere near to this scale. And most of what I saw was, we can't believe people are going as Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, okay, yes.
So, I mean, so Ghostface is everywhere, is my point. And apparently the subway keeps losing power. I don't know if this is a thing.
I think it's the vibrations just cause the lights to knock out.
Right, the lights are shutting off. Yeah,
it's not like it's losing power.
I guess the lights keep going out.
Yeah,
and I don't know if this is a thing on New York subways.
Yeah,
it seems like you can get rid of that. Like LEDs are a thing.
Yeah,
you can shake LEDs while they're on, and it doesn't shut them off.
If the subway actually does break down and stuff, then they do have emergency lights. But it's like, it's just the vibrations knock them out. And
doesn't seem like the best thing. Yeah. If that's a thing, they should probably fix that. Yeah. And we see that there is one Ghostface specifically that keeps moving closer and closer to Mindy. And this is Mindy, like, what are you doing? You are the horror movie expert.
Right.
Ghostface is moving towards you.
Right.
Like, do something.
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, it's like, if I was in her situation, I would be like, I shouldn't do something. Like, that would just be letting my paranoia take over, you know?
Well, she should at least be moving, you know? Like, at least when the lights shut off, she should move too.
Yeah.
I don't know, or something. She literally just stands at the back of the subway and just waits for him to get there.
Yeah.
And he does get there.
Well, I think she's also kind of like, is he moving? You know, because it's like the trick of the lights is like, he's getting closer, but she's not actively seeing him getting closer. It's like he's here, and then he's just a little bit closer, and then he's a little bit closer.
Yeah,
so it's like,
right there. And we both of us said that Ethan dies in this scene. We were like, oh, Ethan's gonna die. And then Mindy gets stabbed, and I was like, oh, maybe not. And I was still I was sort of trying to figure it out, but I also wasn't. And I've talked about it before. I don't necessarily like trying to figure it out with the Scream movies. And now knowing who the killers were, like, it seems so obvious as we're going through the movie. I'm like, oh, this here points to it. This here points to it. This here points to it. There's just thing after thing after thing that points to it being who it ends up being.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't want to say I could have figured it out because I didn't figure it out. But I was not surprised by anything that happened at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know.
I would like to say another shout out to Parker because he did figure it out.
Everything?
One thing he did not figure out, but he figured out.
We can bring that. We can talk about that once we get to the killers. But Mindy gets stabbed, and then Ethan is trying to save her. He sees it somehow and like runs over, gets her off the subway, has people call for the police. And then in the meantime, everyone else gets to the theater. So at the theater, we have Sam and her boyfriend. We have Chad. We have, Mindy's not there. We have Kirby and Tara. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And then Sam's looks at her boyfriend and she's like, you can't come with us. Like, trust no one, which her boyfriend says earlier in the movie to her.
That.
He's like, don't trust me, don't trust anyone. Like, you gotta make it out. Like,
I was like, it's not him.
Like, trust no one. Yeah, I never really thought it was him either. I think there's instances where they try and point to him, but not like he's the love interest. So you never trust him, but more often than not, it's not the love interest.
Yeah.
So they all get into the theater, and then Kirby locks the only way out, and as far as they're concerned, this is the only way out.
Right.
They even say earlier there's one way in and one
Mhm.
way out. And then Kirby's like, there's one gun and I have it.
Mhm.
And Sam like tries to push back a little bit, and she's like, no, I'm a cop, one gun, like this is it.
What do you? I'm confused by what you just said.
Sam like tries to push back on the fact that
Mhm.
Kirby's the only one with a
Oh,
weapon.
I see what you
Which
what you mean.
like makes sense.
Yeah.
They probably all should have been armed, but at the same time, everyone's a suspect.
Right, for
so,
sure.
And then Kirby is gonna go check the place, and
Mhm.
so she heads off to do that. And then Sam gets a phone call. It's from the detective, and he says it's Kirby. Just got back from the Atlanta office. You know, she's been on suspension for 2 months. Like apparently since the murders last year, she's been going crazy. So then everyone thinks it's Kirby. I never thought it was Kirby. Not once in this movie did I think that Kirby could be the killer.
That's not true.
What?
You turned to me at one point and said it could be Kirby.
But yeah, I guess, but I didn't think it was Kirby. You said it was Kirby, and I was like, it's not Kirby.
That's
and
because
then something
that
else
was when
happened, and I was
everything
like,
started unfolding.
right?
I said it's
yeah,
Kirby.
Earlier in the movie, you said it's
and it
Kirby.
was more. No, when everything started unfolding, I said, "Oh, it is."
No, you said
Kirby.
it. You said it again because I didn't say I said it. I said it could be Kirby, not during any of that scene. That was earlier. I was like, well, I guess it could be Kirby, but I don't think it's. I mean, we're in a theater. I wasn't talking. I didn't think it was Kirby, and I would have hated if it was Kirby.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, but anyways, Kirby is off looking, and Tara and Chad are hanging out together, and there's this like on and off or like romance thing between the two of them.
Got chemistry, tension.
Yeah. And then Sam is like on the stage looking at Billy's Ghostface costume and takes his knife. So she's seen Billy again,
Right.
and Billy's like, "You're really gonna let Kirby carry the only weapon? Like, no, get a weapon." And she grabs Billy's knife. And then during all of this.
And he says, like, she should check out the building,
right.
you know?
Yep.
And so that's what she's about to do. And then she gets the call.
She gets the call, and then she runs in to tell Tara and Chad, and then Ghostface pops out, stabs Chad.
Well, no, it's like Tara and Chad are kissing, and then they go to kiss again, and then Ghostface pops out and stabs Chad, and Sam comes
and then
in.
Sam runs in. Yep. And then we see the second Ghostface. Both of them show up in the scene. And Chad gets stabbed like 30 times.
Many times.
Like they stabbed him over and over and over and over and over again.
Awful and brutal, and it's really sad.
And then
they do the thing.
Yes, both at the same time do it, which I thought was pretty good.
That was awesome.
And then Sam and Tara run out, and then Kirby's there, and they Sam still thinks it's Kirby, and then the detective shows up. And then the detective shoots Kirby.
They kind of do this like standoff type thing,
right.
and it's like I feel like Tara and Sam are like, "Who is it?"
Right. Well, and Kirby gets caught off guard because Ghostface shows up behind the detective.
Right.
And she's like, "Behind you, behind you," and he's like, "Okay," and then shoots, and then shoots Kirby.
Yeah.
And then we find out there's a third Ghostface, which I'll give you credit. You called it.
I did.
You said 3.
I did.
And I said no. I said no. I did think that there could be 3 earlier in the movie. I didn't. What?
Interesting.
What?
Interesting.
But I was like, no, it's not 3. I don't want it to be 3. I don't think it's. No, it's not 3. So I stopped that train of thought, which clearly I shouldn't have because it does end up being 3. It's the detective, and then it's Ethan, who somehow gets there even though Mindy is stabbed, and for some reason no one prevents him from going. I guess he slipped away and somehow got there in time.
I mean, he's not friend or family, so he can't ride in the ambulance with her. He doesn't even really know her.
Well, I mean, sure, I guess, but I don't know. It's a little anyway, the timing is a little strange to me, but whatever. Like, he gets there. It doesn't really matter. Well, what matters is he gets there.
But then never mind, we'll talk about that later.
Okay, and then the third killer, they're trying to figure out who it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam is like Mindy because they have no idea who it could be. And turns out it's Quinn. Quinn didn't die, and she's back. Her dad says that he snuck in a prosthetic, and like because you never know.
He snuck in a recently dead body and put prosthetics on the dead body. That was the only thing in this movie that I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I thought he snuck in like a fake body of her.
No, it was a recently dead person.
Oh, that he put prosthetics on. Yeah.
That was the only thing I was like,
they're gonna do an autopsy.
I know, that was like, the thing.
Yeah. And they're kind of, all three of them are kind of going back and forth on this, on like, and it's still kind of like, well, why are these people killing them? Turns out they're all Richie's family. Mm-hmm. So it's Richie's dad is the detective, and then Quinn and Ethan are Richie's siblings. Boo.
Oh, you know what's interesting about that?
What?
Remember when Jill was Sydney's cousin?
It's different.
This makes so much more sense.
I don't say it doesn't make more sense. I think it's dumb. It is a parallel again back to Scream 2.
Mm-hmm. The family.
Scream 2 is was Billy's
unknown
mom
family,
and it's revenge.
Right,
like
exactly.
That's and I don't know. I just like I didn't care that there was 3. Like I didn't care that this was Richie's family. I think the Quinn's fake death doesn't make any sense at all and absolutely falls apart when you try and talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I will say, shout out to Riker, who said that he knew that Ethan was related to Richie.
How did he know that?
He said that they looked very similar, and he thought it made a lot of sense that
they do look similar.
They do. They cast well
for
the entire family.
Right.
But yeah. Props to you for figuring that out. I feel like that's definitely one of the more difficult things to have discovered. And then, I mean, the final showdown goes on. I'm trying to remember exactly how they get out of it. They both pick up bricks, and they're just like Tara and Sam are basically just running from them.
Yeah.
Turns out
Tara gets freaking shot and stabbed.
Tara gets shot?
Yes, when she's hanging.
I didn't think that hit her.
It did.
Oh. I thought
That's why she fell. She was like climbing over the thing and they shot her and she fell.
Oh, and then okay, yeah. And then she like Tara is like holding on to Sam because she's on a balcony, and then she lets go, and then she gets stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah.
But she gave Tara Billy's knife, and
Sam gave Tara Billy's knife.
And she stabs Ethan, and then Sam shoots Quinn in the head.
Mm-hmm. She stabs Ethan.
In the
throat.
In the mouth, like in the back of the throat. And then Tara turns the knife. Like,
it's awful.
Tara is apparently also has some serial killer gene in her.
Yeah.
Because
we should all be scared of Tara.
Crazy with the knife too.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a fight. Kirby comes back at one point during the fight. Mm-hmm. And then it ends up being just that Dad and Sam has put on Billy's costume.
But they so what happens is they're fighting, and then they both fall over the edge of the upper stand in the theater, and he's out cold, but Sam is like, off Sam
wakes up first.
Right, and he wakes up and he's like, where is she? And then he's like looking around the place, and then he goes up onto the stage where all the costumes are, and Billy's costume is missing, and it's like, oh shoot. And
then his phone rings.
Yes.
I think his phone rings before. Because she asks him, what's your favorite scary movie as he goes up the stairs.
No, he's on the stage already when she says that. He sees the costume.
He's walking up the stairs, and because he's talking to her, and then he sees it, and he's like, oh, I see you finally, like, gave in to your nature. And then she ends up, she comes out from behind the curtain and just stabs him, like,
so many times.
A lot. And she's going all over.
It's like,
he's wearing a vest. So she's like stabbing him in the arm, and then stabs him in the side, and then stabs him in the other side. And like she's right about to kill him. And then Tara walks in and she like stops. And one of the things that happens in this movie that we kind of forgot to talk about is there's this online conspiracy theory that Sam orchestrated everything and blamed it on Richie and Amber.
Yeah.
So Tara walks in and she sees her and she's like, I'm not a killer. Like, I'm not going to kill you. And then Tara's like.
And he's like, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And then she was like, well, you did mess with my family. And then stabs him in the eye.
Yeah, that was.
And then the three of them, I guess Kirby doesn't come back until this point, right? When
I honestly can't remember when Kirby comes
doesn't
back.
come back until Tara and Sam are walking, and you said it. You're like, they always come back. And I was like, I knew they always come back, but I didn't understand how somebody would come back because they never get like shot in the head. But all three of them got either shot or stabbed in the head.
She got shot in the head.
She got shot right here,
in the middle,
right in between the eyes. He got stabbed in the eye.
Yeah,
and
I knew it wasn't either of them.
Stabbed in the neck, so like he.
I knew it wasn't those two coming back.
The brainstem is right here.
Yeah,
like, he's dead.
But they always come back.
Correct. However, if there was one time they shouldn't have come back, it was this time because they did Tara and Sam did a pretty good job finishing them.
But you have to do it for
he comes back.
Yeah.
And then he mentioned earlier that Stu was his favorite killer. Mm-hmm. And then Kirby comes back and shoves the TV onto him. And then he dies the same way Stu did, being crushed by the TV.
Yeah.
Except Stu gets electrocuted by the TV.
And he's just...
And apparently just the weight of the TV falling on him kills him. But, you know, whatever.
You know, yeah. I mean, it probably killed Stu, too, a little bit. It's just because it had the electricity.
Right.
You know, kind of like that factor. What was I going to say about Ethan?
I don't know.
What were we talking about when I brought it up?
When did you bring it up?
Like a minute ago.
I don't remember. We were talking about him getting stabbed in the mouth and how he comes back. We were talking about him at the subway station.
Oh, yes. To go back to that, to what I said earlier about Ethan, Mindy at the end comes running up and she's like, it's Ethan, you know? So it's like he probably left and she was like,
oh yeah,
shoot.
You're right.
Yeah,
I don't. Interesting.
Yeah.
So Sam and Tara like exit the theater with Kirby. And then Mindy's there, so Mindy didn't die.
Woo!
And then
and she's like fine.
We got a live one. Yeah, she's fine after being like gutted, basically.
And Tara's literally like bawling. She's like, Chad's dead.
Yeah, and then they're like, we got a live one, and then somehow Chad's not dead. And then there's like,
he's the dude. He's the new Dewey.
There's a phone call from the hospital.
The new
Guess who else isn't dead? Gale isn't dead.
What?
They killed no one in this movie. No one dies in this movie.
That's not true.
Who dies?
Are you serious?
Who dies that we should care about?
I mean, that we should care. The girlfriend?
Why should we care? She's a new character. She's got like 15 minutes of screen time.
Because it's super sad. Because it's super sad,
sure,
and it's obvious
like,
that she's a good person.
But one of the things I love so much about the Scream franchise is that everyone can die.
Yeah.
Maybe with the exception of Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. Like, Sidney, Gale, and Dewey were like not sure until Scream 5, of course, when they decided to kill Dewey.
Gale definitely should have died in this movie.
Gale 100% should have died in this movie.
But if they,
and Mindy or Chad, one of them should have died too.
I disagree with that.
I just don't, that because of what happened to both of them.
Yeah.
There's no way both should be alive.
Oh no, I agree with you in that regard, but I think that it's good that they're still alive.
Like, the Scream franchise in general, stabbings never do as much damage to people as they actually should.
I know, because they always get up.
Yeah,
they're always like sitting on the back of the ambulance. Like,
end of the movie, they're always like, the paramedics like looked at them and then they're good.
They have like a little bit of tape
on. In this movie, it does less than any other movie. Like, Tara, as you said, gets stabbed in the stomach and shot. She's fine. Kirby gets shot. She's fine.
It's not less than any of the others. That happened. Literally, Sydney gets stabbed in the stomach in like every single movie, and she always is exactly the same.
Right, but I mean, Chad gets stabbed,
and then he's
way
going to
more
the
than anyone else, and he's fine. Like,
he's not fine though. He's literally
I mean, he's gonna make it. Like, he didn't die.
Well, but he's like lethargic and like
right, but he didn't die. That's what I mean though. Is like all of It does. We have the most brutal Ghostface with the most like pointless like the stabbings, like unless you stab them in the face, which happens multiple times in this movie, they just don't die.
Yeah.
Gail should have died there, like at the house. She should have died, and then Tara and Sam should have showed up after Gail was dead.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason they didn't kill Gail is because they couldn't figure out why Sydney would not show up if Gail died. Because Sydney wasn't going to show up in Scream 5, but then she did show up because Dewey died. And that's the only reason she showed up. So if Gail died, why wouldn't Sydney show up?
Sure.
So maybe that's why they don't kill her, or, or at least at the end of the movie, they should have said something like, Gail didn't make it, or something like that.
Didn't Sydney show up because she found out that Sam was Billy Loomis's daughter?
No, she showed up because of Dewey.
Okay.
And the only reason Sydney is not in this movie is because they didn't want to pay Neve.
Yeah.
Like that is the only reason she's not in this movie.
I'm glad
okay
she's not
with her not being in this movie, but not for that reason. Like, this is Scream. This is Neve's franchise.
Yeah.
She what is Scream without her?
They definitely.
And don't get me wrong. Like, they did a good job without her. But a money dispute is that's lame.
Yeah, they definitely screwed her over, but also I'm happy she's not in it, to be honest.
I totally agree. And if this so let's do ratings real quick.
Okay.
So I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
You gave it.
I'm gonna give it 4.5.
4.5. Okay. And for me, that puts it right above Scream 2. That's it. Everything else I have is still above. Or sorry, Scream 3. So it's Scream 3. It's 3, 6, 4, 2, 5, 1 for me.
Okay, let me see what mine is. So Scream 1 is, in the number 1 spot, obviously. Then it would be then it's Scream 6, then Scream 2, then Scream 5, then Scream 3, 3, then 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope this movie grows on me like the other ones do, but the first 2/3 of this movie are so good. I leaned over to Riker about like a quarter of the way through, and I was like, dude, I'm loving this movie.
Yeah,
I was really enjoying it. They were doing so many things so well, and it just fell apart for me. Like, I still gave it a 3.
Yeah,
it's like a 3 is like a fine movie for me. 3 is fine, and 3.5 is where we get to good.
Yeah,
and so I don't know. It's just I was fairly disappointed with the ending. There's just little things throughout the movie that just irk me, that don't make sense.
Sure.
I think Quinn is possibly the biggest plot hole in the Scream franchise.
Yeah.
Like, it's
not in the franchise. I disagree with that.
It's pretty close.
It is not the best, but
because some of the other ones I feel like are more easily what I'll actually say, the biggest plot hole in the Scream franchise is that Ghostface is never the actor. The killers. Yeah. It's always somebody else.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the biggest plot hole. But I don't know. I really wanted to like it. And I don't dislike it. But compared to the other ones, it's just not. It's not as good.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I understand what you're saying.
Do you think they're gonna keep going?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think I am. Do you want them to keep going?
Yeah.
See,
after this one,
we've swapped.
Yeah.
After Scream 5, you were like, I want them to be done.
No, after Scream 3, I wanted them to be done. Well, right,
but all 5 were out already. Right. So after you'd finished the franchise, you're like, I don't want another one. And it's funny. I think you were more skeptical going into this one than I was.
100%. Yeah.
And we came out like I was more hopeful, and we swapped.
Maybe my skepticism made it that way.
So that happens with me all the time with movies. When I go in like expecting it to be bad, it's usually good. Yeah. And when I go in expecting it to be good, it's
for
not.
sure.
And after 5, I did have pretty high expectations for it. I was trying to keep them low, but
it's hard not to get excited when it's something you love so much.
And I do want more Scream movies because I love going to a premiere for Scream. But at the same time, if this was the last one, I would be okay with it.
Yeah.
6 movies is good. 5 out of 6 being good is pretty impressive.
Sure.
Not only horror-wise, 5 out of 6 being good is insane.
That's, unheard of.
I don't know another horror franchise that has as many movies as Scream does that has as many good ones.
Yeah.
A Nightmare on Elm Street has a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 good ones.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th has a ton.
Yeah.
There's one good one. I mean, according to everything I've seen of reviews, I obviously haven't. The only ones I've seen is part 1 and part 2. Review-wise, one is the only one that reviews well. And just pretty much any of the other franchises I can think of, just nothing touches Scream.
Yeah, definitely.
Scream has, for sure, with 5 and 6, I think it has cemented itself as the best horror franchise.
It is. I don't know if it's the most iconic, but it is the best in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, Halloween, Halloween, I haven't seen that many Halloween movies, but again, review-wise, Halloween doesn't even really hold up to Scream.
Yeah.
So
I think it's because it's a different killer every time.
Yeah, see, and that's interesting. That's one of the things that I was going to say, I was thinking about. One of the most difficult things about the Scream movies is that you don't have the killer.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason Scream 3 is so bad, is because the killer doesn't make any sense, and he's the weakest killer out of the franchise. And I think that's the most difficult thing for them to do, is to come up with the good killer. Yeah. And they mostly do a really good job. I think Scream 6 is the weakest, right above Roman, though. But I know we would disagree about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Scream 6.
Yeah.
If I watch it again, I'll watch it again probably before we record again. So maybe we'll have another brief conversation about it.
Yeah. But. Yeah, I loved it. I'm going to watch it so much.
Yeah.
It is.
I'll let you know when I go again.
It's honestly so close to Scream 1.
Yeah.
And for me,
that's
they're
so funny, because that's how
close.
I feel about Scream 5.
Yeah, that is funny.
Well, thank you for watching this very long episode.
So long.
I hope you enjoyed hearing about our favorite franchise.
Yes.
Thanks for liking, subscribing, clicking that bell. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Love ya. Mwah. Slay.